What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Crypto Kindness channel. I am pumped to be here today. We've got an amazing cast of characters that are going to come on, and one guy that's really smart to help us learn everything we need to know about what's happening in the PulseChain ecosystem right now. We have pages and pages of questions people have sent me that they want to learn about today. And I'm fortunate to have been able to put together a team of what I think are the best minds in the PulseChain ecosystem. So without further ado, I know y'all have no interest in hearing me talk. You want to hear it from my guests. And so I'm going to give you just that. So first and foremost, we're going to bring in the brains of PulseX, Colton, who is not shaved.
Yeah, not shaving until PulseChain. Still going, even in the hot summer, guys. Doing it for you guys. So
doing it for us. What about the hair?
I try to shave it every day, but I put the razor back down because I'm not used to having this much hair on my face. Even though this is as much as I can grow. So go ahead with the rest.
You're gonna have like an Amish beard. I don't know what it is, but
well, I'm from Amish country, so
well, there you go. Fit. So it's very fitting. We've got the man, the myth, the legend. Cryptographics here has always got the coolest headsets. I think he's like friends with Dr. Dre. He always gets these really cool headsets.
He's my neighbor. Yeah, you know.
Nice. I didn't know he lived in Vancouver. Or
yeah,
wherever in Canada you're from.
He's got a second or fourth or 20th house there. Not sure which one.
Right next to you.
Yeah.
Nice. We've got the man that nobody knows where he is from because he's got the wickedest accent ever and can roll his R's like he's, I don't know, someone that can roll their R's real good. I thought I was going to come up with something crafty, but I didn't. What's up, Jake? How are you?
Everything's good. I'm from the moon. I'm the moon Jake.
The moon Jake.
The moon
Jake. The moon Carl. Nah. The moon Jake.
Can you do the Carlton though? Can you do the Carlton dance?
I can do anything, so probably I'll look like a dumbass doing it, but I believe I can do it, and that's all that matters.
All right. Well, I've introduced you to the clowns of the project, but now here come the brains. We've got he's the Google guy number 21. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing to say, is that you were the 21st employee at Google. He has created many tech startup business. He was an early Bitcoiner. The $1 million question is, did he mine more Bitcoin than Richard Hart? That's something we're going to try to find out today. Knows all about Ethereum. He's a super coder, and we're going to be asking a lot of questions today about PulseChain, the new Golang or Gulag or whatever it is type of code. And as Jake is laughing at me because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But anyway, very, very excited to have Mr. Jack Levin on the stream. How are you today?
Hey guys, good to see you. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks for the warm introduction. You're definitely giving me way more credit than I deserve.
Well, don't disappoint us.
we need to lower the expectations a little bit so that I can win.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. Well, the good news is you're on a stream that has relatively low expectations to begin with. So no one's going to be too excited, which is good. And I like, we were just talking earlier about your new background, the brick wall, and we all decided that you're streaming from an alleyway somewhere in San Bernardino,
It is
California.
the bear market, so
it's true.
Well, I think so this was supposed to be Joe Rogan's wall, right?
Oh.
You know, the old one with the American flag.
Okay.
All right.
I looked at various like fake walls you can buy off Amazon, and this one like looked really good to me. And I'm like, why am I like always putting this one in my shopping cart? Like, what's the deal? And then I remember like all the hours I spent listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and looking at that wall. That's what it is. It's like program my brain to get it. Nice. So it's a piece of plastic. It's just hanging off some hangers, and you know, it looks like a wall, but you can get any wall you want. I mean, it could be marble, could be, you know, any picture whatsoever. But it looks pretty good, especially with the big camera.
Great. I wasn't sure if maybe you had put all your money into Celsius and were now living in the streets. Therefore, had to stream from the alleyways. Hey,
yeah, my money is safe. It's safe from the non-crypto players.
The non-crypto players. Nice. Well, with that, you know, dig at Mashinsky, I'm going to jump right in with the questions. I know there's going to be eventually a lot of people on this stream. In fact, if you gentlemen wouldn't mind maybe tweeting out that we're live, that would be helpful.
Doing it now.
Hey,
I told people ahead of time a day or so ago, or 2 days or something. So I'll tweet it out again.
Yeah. Well, you know how people are. Well, it won't be until like 3 hours into the stream, which I have no intentions of going that long, but that we actually finally hit like our peak number.
Right.
But we do have a couple people, Godfather J6 in the chat, Crypto Finance.
brother.
We got Kasia, if I'm saying that wrong, Ted Nelson. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you being here. Shoot us over some questions. But Jack, we're going to start with you, and then we're just going to start piling in everybody, giving their 2 cents or questions or whatnot. But I don't want to ask a bunch of things that you've already kind of stated on other streams. I don't want to be redundant. I want to try to bring new information here. But one of the big questions I have, if you're okay with this, I'm going to give a little bit of like a Cliff's Notes on what I think I have learned from listening to your previous streams, and then launch in with a question. So you got into Hex. If I understand correctly, you got the postcard in the mail. You thought it was a scam. So you didn't pay it any attention. Then you were talking with a buddy who mentioned PulseChain, and that intrigued you. You started looking into it and suddenly realized that, hey, wait a minute, the same guy that is creating PulseChain created Hex. And so now I'm going to look into that. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, mostly. I would say the time sequence was something like this. I was on Twitter and I was literally browsing Twitter stream, and then I saw a retweet about PulseChain, and I'm like, oh, what's PulseChain? So I looked at the website. Looked pretty cool, and then that linked me to Hex and linked me to Richard. And for a second, I thought Richard plus Hex is a thing, but PulseChain is somebody else's project.
Okay.
So I asked a friend of mine on Twitter, like, what is the connection there? And he said, oh yeah, I mean, it's basically both projects are under the same founder essentially. And so afterwards, when I came home, I was actually riding dirt bikes when I was browsing Twitter a little bit when I was taking a break, like taking lunch break. That's when I saw it. When I came back home, there was a postcard in the mail. And I'm like, oh wow, that's actually, I often think we're in the Matrix, right? So that was definitely the Matrix-like experience. And so I looked at it. I'm like, okay, well, that's another variable that just like fell into my brain.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. And I'm like, there's no way this thing's real. So let's see what YouTube says, because YouTube generally, has opinions and this and that. And so I saw some videos about saying it's a scam because, and then I went straight to Richard and I listened to Richard for about 5 minutes. I'm like, this isn't a scam. This guy is very educated. He tells the truth about the blockchain, even to the people that do not understand what he's saying. So I thought, why would a scammer tell the truth about blockchain to someone who isn't really there to benefit, and yet he does say all the things that I believe? So I thought definitely there's cognitive dissonance, and in the way that he dressed and all those like rotating Rolexes, it was like, yeah, this is a weird presentation. But then if you are a real scammer, would you be showing off like that? Probably not either. So those things actually got me kind of really curious. And then I listened to about 12 hours of Richard, and that's easy to do because his own channel, he often takes questions from the audience, and it's like 6 hours or whatever, 3 hours podcasting nonstop, just the whole brain dump.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, I'm learning really a lot from this sort of perspective that he has. So that was my early introduction to Hex, basically.
So the
Plus-
one question I have that jumps out at me about this is you said you watched a stream of Richard's and within 5 minutes, you knew it wasn't a scam. What on earth stream did you watch that within 5 minutes he was done talking about all of the crap he just bought? The fact that he called the top, the fact that he's the best guy in crypto, like what? It's usually 27 to 38 minutes before you get into that.
So luckily I bypassed that intro. It was one of those clips, and you know how people take clips out from larger videos, the ones that are interesting and good?
That's what I do.
Yeah.
So it went straight to the point. And I'm like, dude's making sense, right? And actually quite intelligent, understand what crypto is, what blockchain is, what Bitcoin was, all of it. And I'm like, okay, time to zoom in and examine it a little bit deeper. So
nice. K4K, you had a question. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, I was gonna the whole Richard Hart is a scammer narrative thing. A lot of people, at least some people, had these ideas that Richard couldn't come to the U.S. He was afraid. Well, guess what? He's running around having podcasts with people. Met with the police because he was shopping too much, and they didn't arrest him for any he's able to come to the U.S. Eric Wall claimed, "You'll never go to the U.S." He wanted to make a bet. Richard could have totally taken the bet and won, but he didn't even.
You know, I hear Eric and him, they're actually good friends.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I've heard that too.
still on stage for the documentary, he was challenging Richard that he'd never go to the U.S. So maybe it was a setup to make him look extra good.
No, I think he wants it. He wants to be challenged so that he can tell people that they're idiots.
Yeah.
So you think they're good friends, and the challenge was there just almost like a stunt, like make this challenge so that way I can prove it.
I mean, no one's
I'm-
seen him come to the U.S. So
I am not gonna claim that was staged, but the whole thing that Eric went into in that video, or the one that I saw on stage, was definitely, it was way too aggressive about the stupidest thing. Right? Like, I mean, like, come on, who cares? Right? I mean, basically, Eric had no, there was like no technical challenges at all. So he went after the personality. Like, why are you wearing this? Why are you afraid to go to US? I mean, clearly you're hiding something, right? And that's pretty much what the scam, focus generally is all about. You look the way you look, you talk the way you talk, and you're hiding from someone. So that means everything else you do is false too, or needs to be challenged.
Gotcha.
So, but it's very difficult to challenge hacks. Like, just the fact that it's immutable code on chain without the admin keys. I mean, that's the truth. And by consensus of Ethereum miners, we know that to be the case. So that is unchallengeable.
yeah, it's so funny when people come to Hex where they're like, "What's the use case? You need people to buy it." Okay, buddy. Well, what's Bitcoin's use case? Are you still talking, sir? Is basically how that conversation goes. And
So
they don't realize that the immutability, the blockchain aspect, the decentralized trading, the global commerce, like you can send it across and no one can stop it. That's the value. It can't be stopped. And also, it can't be debased without abiding by the rules of the contract. Every other fiat currency, any currencies in the past, they get debased and the people get wrecked. Crypto is like the first thing, if you build it right, like Hex, which even has extra game mechanics in it to get extra reward for waiting, you don't get wrecked by debasement. It's like the best part about cryptos. You can verify that it's not being debased. Like how possible is it to check if your coins, like all the coins in circulation, aren't being debased by like the printing? Like it's way more hard to check, but in crypto, you're just like, oh, check the code. Oh, nice. This is all this is all that there should be. Great. You're not getting devalued.
Yeah, well, I would say a lot of people ask, what is the purpose of your coin or your crypto or whatever? And people that ask that, they just do not understand that the first principles themselves is what gives it value. So specifically, the code that's immutable, somebody who isn't able to modify the code, consensus, transparency, and self-custody, all of that actually is worth something. So, and it's more than zero.
Yeah, the people who like come with those accusations, I'm pretty sure keep their money on exchanges and they trade. Like that, those people are years behind, and Richard's years ahead. And the people who find out earlier get to reap the benefit. That's just kind of how it's been for Hex, and we're going to see that with PulseChain. BitBoy, dude, that guy's definitely in PulseChain, and guess who's going to show it on his channel? BitBoy, for sure. They're buddies.
Oh, yeah.
And he just finished that Jordan Belfort Wolf of Wall Street interview. And at the end, Richard's like, "Hey, is there anybody you think I should contact?" And Jordan, he's like, "Yeah, I'll just give you my contact list of all the podcasts I've been on for like Logan Paul and his whole, basically all the stuff that Jordan's been in contact with, which is basically all the other top podcaster guys." Going to give Richard the list and reach out to him for him. So that's huge news while he's in the US. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, there is two types of people that I see in crypto. The first type, and that's the majority, 95% of people just seeking dopamine, and they're trying to win the game by trading. So they want to discover something new, they want to get it in, they want it pumped, and then they want to dump it. And that's why we have 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000 coins at the moment that's vying for attention from the population to do exactly that. And so the game mechanics behind those cryptos is specifically to give you the dopamine rush of you loading up and then unloading at some point. It's a huge motivator, right? Now, the other part of population, they're in minority. They're actually wanting to participate in the ecosystem as it gets developed. And we are at 3%, maybe 4% right now in terms of world's adoption. It's a great technology and great overall, experiment to participate in. And those people are there. They may invest and they hold, and pumps and dumps don't really matter to them. And Hacks embodies that sort of principle because of the interior game theory and mechanics in tokenomics inside it. So that's how I feel about it, and that's why it's so interesting. So people are discouraged to load up and then to dump, right, because of the staking mechanism.
Question for Jack, because you're a software. I guess so's Jake, software developer guy.
Jake.
Jack. That could be a show, Jack and Jake. So
J&J, let's go.
What do you think about the U.S. sanctioning open source code and then also jailing the founder? I guess he's not jailed yet, but he's arrested, and they shut down like everything related to Tornado.cash. Isn't that crazy? That's like a huge move. They've never done that before. Added open source code to the OFAC list. What is that? What is that? If you interact with it, you're going to jail, possibly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then now they're doing stuff where they're actually sending Ethereum from TornadoCash to different wallets to get their wallets blacklisted.
Yep.
I mean, how insane is that?
It's fighting back against this regime, dude.
Imagine this: you have a bank account, and you're a terrorist. You have $1 million in the bank account, and you send $1 to 1 million Americans, and now the 1 million Americans are screwed. Yeah, good job. Very smart design.
Yeah,
I mean, it's insane.
Well, there's definitely a fight coming for control of the use of economic energy, and the government will have all kinds of quote unquote air quotes good reasons to do what they do, even when it comes to open source. I think back in the day, like 20 years ago, a certain number of bits in cryptography was illegal to use, right? So you go over like 256 bit, you're not allowed, right? You're not allowed. Like, why would you not be allowed, right? You wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, what?
You wouldn't be allowed because somebody wanted to look at your private information, right? That's why you're not allowed, right? I think they must have lost that fight. I don't actually remember what happened afterwards. But in 1997, when I was very heavy in private key, public key cryptography and everything, I was playing with triple DES, and in many cases, like triple DES required a special license from the government to actually to use it. So,
that's how you know that they definitely have like a back door or something if they're allowing.
Well, I think they're sitting in the room. They're like, okay, is this encryption unbreakable? Yes, it is. Let's make it illegal.
That sounds fitting.
What are the greater implications of this, though? I mean, is this the kind of like warning shot for crypto in general? Because, we've heard people say all along, this is the greatest thing. It can't be touched by the government. It can't be manipulated. Well, guess what? They just shut it down and arrested somebody. So what do you all think? Cryptographics, let's start with you. What do you think? Is this a, canary in the coal mine for all of cryptocurrency?
I mean, I think, it goes to show you got to be really careful what you're interacting with, and, how careful you have to be in general with your anonymity and trying not to have your information out there, and trying to make sure that, you are disconnected in a way from the real world, from blockchain. I think you got to be careful. I think it is. And it's just showing, how quickly things can escalate. And if you're not, if you're not perfectly set up, you're interacting with the wrong things, and you're not very, very, I know I'm saying careful because I don't really know how else to say it, but if you're not careful, things can go south really quick. And how government already at the moment is, grabbing hold of the things that are, in quotations, blockchain technology, and things that are, people can take at face value as, oh yeah, this is a good thing to interact with, this is safe. But then all of a sudden, boom, you've got the undercurrents pull you down, and next thing you know, they have massive control. So if you're not very careful, I think this is the start of something bigger coming. For me, at least, anyways.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I guess. Like, we want to have censorship-resistant anonymity before we need it, or it's already too late. Like, if we were already rolled out on CBDC, everyone had to do it, like you're forced to, and it was already that far, how are you going to coordinate with others to create something that's illegal by the government and it's connected to, like, all your transactions are tracked, definitely looked into by, like, huge databases? How are you supposed to move forward if they can just ban your bank account, stop your coins, you can't transact with the people you want to work with to make the change, to build that anonymity, to get your privacy back? It's going to be exponentially harder the longer we take to create this stuff to protect us. So I hope Richard builds it, because I don't know who else is going to build it on. Like, we need something like Tornado Cash on PulseChain.
Well, isn't there already the Hurricash? Isn't that kind of a fork of Tornado Cash?
But we kind of need something better that can't be banned like that.
That's true.
If they can just sanction and that's the win, like, we need something better.
That's a great transition. How is that even possible? Let's talk to the two developers in the room. Is something like that? I mean, they just proved that they can ban open source coding. So how do you make it so that it can't be? Or is that just a pipe dream?
Who goes first?
Go ahead, Jake.
Okay. So with the way the blockchain is set up, with PulseChain and Ethereum and all of these like EVM style blockchains, it will never work unless the actual like underpinning of the blockchain is based on anonymity. As long as you can have address linked to identities or contracts or codes, you can just blacklist these things. And I look at this differently. I don't look at it as like fighting against the system. There's this saying from like Bruce Lee, be like water. So the way I'm fighting against it is I'm making sure I'm not held hostage under one government. Multiple passports, multiple identities, multiple driver's licenses, residencies. The thing that is beautiful and inspires me about cryptocurrency is the fact that it's movable property. If you have real estate, you cannot take it with you. You cannot just dig it up, put it in your backpack, and move to a different country. When you invest in real estate, you physically are now locked into that country with that asset. Crypto not. If they mistreat you, the wealth can literally just hardware wallet, move to a different country, and not even have a hardware wallet. You can just take your seed words with you, so you can move billions of dollars just like this, and all the wealth can leave the country. And with other assets, you're stuck in the government. So my way of fighting against it is just be under multiple governments, so that if one disrespects you, you can just switch over. I don't think you can fight against the government. That's my take on it, and it's a very annoying take. But hey, we're making the best out of the situation, or the cards are dealt.
Yeah, well, I honestly agree with that. It's so hard to fight against a body that is, kind of integrating itself as truth, or its messages are truth in so many people's minds, because you're not fighting against the government too, you're fighting against so many people that are going to be on the side of consensus with that government. So like, you're basically fighting a losing battle, like almost 100% of the time when you're fighting the government, especially when they've done so much to date, as far as plant ideas and messages in people's minds over the last number of years. And we're already on the trajectory that the majority are following. So yeah, I'd agree. You're going to struggle every single day to fight the government. I don't think you're going to. And Jack, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this as well.
Sure. So, I mean, I totally agree. Be like water, one of my favorite things as well with Bruce Lee. I wouldn't say the government needs to be fought. I mean, the government are just people, just like the rest of us. I mean, they have different motivations. And going back to banning open source, it isn't that the open source that's banned. It's the function that is attracting criminal activity. So, I mean, and we always have to look at it as a yin yang. I mean, I guess there's good and bad there, because like, think about it. it is similar to Monero, right? And Monero has like the highest criminal activity behind it in terms of buying illegal substances, buying bazookas, grenades, sex, slavery.
But cash does the same thing.
I was literally thinking the exact same thing, Colin. Yeah.
And they don't
What-
ban banks. They just get a fine. They do $1 trillion of laundering. Here's
so
your
the-
$1 billion fine, buddy. It's like,
with
LOL,
cash-
this is not fair.
With the cash, it's under the banks, and banks are under the federal kind of control, I would say.
Mhm.
So they could trace people, and at least they have the tools to do it. But when it comes to new technology, that all of a sudden you're switching your economic energy. Like, let's say that you're a bad guy. Like, oh, blockchain, that's great. It has all of those benefits for me to commit more crime. So I'm just gonna lean into it and do all of it, right? And I will not be discovered. And unfortunately, that is the case. So people do those things. And I think the move from for Tornado, there was definitely a catalyst. Nothing just happened spontaneously for no reason. It was either planned or something did really happen that the public simply does not know. But what's really interesting thing that comes to mind right now is that USDC really jumped in its capitalization. So I think it went from like 20 billion to 60 or 65 billion dollars in terms of all the money stored in USDC. USDC is an Ethereum-based stablecoin under US jurisdiction, and now USDC cannot. I mean, they toggled something that you cannot use it with Tornado Cash, which basically means that USDC economic energy is centralized through the laws of the country. Now, it's good and it's bad. I mean, like, think about it. USDT, we don't know when that thing's going to implode because there's
We've been waiting
really
for that to implode since 2017.
who knows? Let's just say that the mind frame of a person who is an American citizen, they would be thinking USDC is probably better because it's under the laws that we understand, and USDT, we don't know what they have as the notes and obligations in terms of securing it. And so the benefit for the US citizen is definitely to hold USDC. The negative part is that they can just turn something on and make it useless for the protocols that you're not allowed to use, right? So that's a problem because of centralization. So like crypto did not mean to be centralized and controlled like that. Unfortunately, that's what's being done with Ethereum and Bitcoin too. And you can just look at the off-chain transactions, and there's more of them than on-chain. And so that begs the question, is the valuation of Bitcoin and Ethereum is even real? Because a lot of it is just manipulation by the centralized exchanges. And the other thing that I was thinking, I figured it's too late to make blockchain illegal. It's too late to make all of those coins illegal. So I think what they're trying to do, they're trying to come up with the products to make it under the umbrella or under thinking to be more liquid. But in reality, what they're doing, they're taking economic energy under their control. So Blackrock, for example, announced that they're going to have the spot BTC. And it sounds like a good idea for the BTC, but the reality is that, okay, it will have billions of dollars floating around, and they will have more ability to manipulate it however they see please, right?
They need billions to move it up only a few percent. So
exactly.
Bitcoin top of S curve wrecked. Wouldn't recommend.
Yeah. So a lot of the Bitcoin maxis, they love the fact that they think it's adoption, but the reality of the situation is that the financial control and financial centralized organizations, they're taking over the ability to control it without controlling the blockchain itself.
So something you just said there brings another question in my mind. So USDC was able to just turn off any coins essentially that were used in Tornado. Immediately when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I'm probably done using USDC. Other than just sitting in my wallet and waiting for purchasing, I don't use it for much anymore anyway. So I'm like, okay, I'll just buy ETH when I want to swap it to something else. My question is, you saying that ETH, most of it's happening off chain anyway. How real is it? Can they do something similar with ETH now? As it perhaps gets more centralized, will they just be able to say, oh, we can turn off your ETH that you used for
That would
20
be
to cash?
so bad. Oh my gosh.
Is
There's
that
so
something
many.
that can happen?
Well,
Yeah.
they could pressure the Ethereum Foundation to change the code. And
But that would affect not everybody, not just the few people that interacted with a certain protocol. Is that correct?
yeah, I mean, like, well, think about it. I'm pretty sure that the government already spoke with the foundation. I'm just speculating. I have no idea if it happened, but they probably already spoken with them, and they said, "Hey, we need some safety margins around your blockchain. What can you give us that will allow us to block criminal activity as we deem fit, so that we can do our job?" And that is the question, right? So the question is, can they actually influence the blockchain builders to provide the accessibility to the governmental entities to manage or manipulate blockchain consensus in that particular way? So that is a big question, but I'm sure they thought about it.
Interesting. Well, that leads me to another question. Based on a text that you sent out, Jack, not too long ago, speaking about what it is you like about Hex and first principles when it comes to cryptocurrency. And I think this is going to kind of lead us to something you were telling us before the show started. So I had a few people actually ask about what are your first principles when it comes to investing in a cryptocurrency?
It just needs to basically match the original ethos of blockchain, which was Satoshi's paper. And I mean, I'm sure there was development afterwards, but there are 2, 3, 4 principles that are, I would say, axiomatic to what we call blockchain. So first is self-custody, right? That basically means that you control your own economic energy, nobody else does. If you look at the 5,000 coins you want to be buying for yourself, you need to check, are they going into my wallet? Do I have full control of it? Or are they being sold on one of those, side exchanges that at any moment's notice can turn me off and take all of my money away? So that's the first one. The second one is what I believe is truth by consensus. So in other words, it's kind of very similar to the zero knowledge concept, where I don't have to trust you. Rather, I can trust you without you needing to share extra information with me, because the consensus in the blockchain already does it, and there's confirmations, thousands of confirmations on top of a transaction that makes that transaction to be the truth of what it is. And that's why Hex works, because we know it to be the code that's immutable and without admin keys. So unless we can hack Ethereum or do any sort of front running with the Ethereum blocks, there's no way we can manipulate how Hex is being used. So that's the second one. And the third one, I would say, you're bypassing any sort of central organizations. So in other words, that's kind of like a shot against the sexes, right? The organizations that are trying to suck in your fiat. And they do a pretty good job. I mean, their business model is to on ramp as many people as possible. So they're really succeeding with on ramping. I mean, like, look at Robinhood and Coinbase. You can literally enable a DCA straight from your bank into crypto of your choice. Sounds like a great idea, and it did sound like a great idea until Coinbase made that tweet where they said, "Oh, by the way, if we are ever have to file for bankruptcy, we're going to take all your money and use it to defend ourselves."
Yeah.
Or defend the interests of our original investors. So anyway, and that's what my tweet was all about, is that a lot of companies and a lot of organizations out there, they're saying, "Hey, we are making you into an investor. You can buy all of those cryptos and you can invest and enjoy the benefits of the rally or adoption or whatever that they're going to say." In reality, you are their product. You're not an investor. They're the ones investing, and they're using you as a product to finance their undertaking. And that's what the Celsius model was.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you have to add to that? Because I know one of the things you're really big in is proper research, and I think I've even heard you mention something about first principles. What do you have to add to this?
Like this, I like subscribing to the ethos. I mean, I think DEXs, decentralized exchanges, are an absolutely beautiful invention. I love them. The idea of decentralized exchanges, they're beautiful. I think as long as people know, because the only thing at the end of the day, the only thing people care about is not this tech stuff. It's making money and keeping their money and having movable property and control over their assets and their money, and they have own responsibility. At the end of the day, that's all anybody cares about. So as long as people know, don't. So the way you kind of make it click for like more simple people who are not tech oriented is when you send money to an exchange and you buy crypto, you are buying it inside of their wallet. It shows that it's under your account, but it's in their wallet. It's in their bank account. It's not your money. If they go bankrupt, it's not your money. And that's it's just something, as long as people know, don't use exchanges, only use exchanges for on-ramping and then going into your own wallet and doing self-custody and doing security research, making sure you're secure. I'm not really sure where I'm going with that. I like going with the angle of like, hey, you're making a lot of money, or you could potentially make a lot of money. Not financial advice. You want to have your assets under your own control. That's all at the end of the day people care about.
Yeah, well, I think just to add 2 cents on top of what you just said, Jake, is that when you 20 years ago, when E-Trade became the brokerage that for the regular people, like before E-Trade, you had to pay $300 per trade. With E-Trade, it became like $19. And so a lot of people got aboard on all of the E-Trade variants out there, and that's how they made their investments. Now, when somebody like E-Trade goes bankrupt, the shares that you bought are still your shares. They go into a trust, and the trust can now move those shares to another brokerage that assumes the operations. Nothing like that as a law or a rule exists for centralized exchanges. So whatever that you own does not really belong to you. They say it is, but it isn't. You're trading against their centralized database, and when you withdraw, they just look up a record, and whatever the funds they have, assuming that they're not doing anything with those funds for their own benefit.
Yeah, they could be that whole time.
Fractional reserve. I think it happens at 90-95% of the time. They're taking that money, that fiat that people send. They're doing something for themselves, and then everybody else is playing the game of trading against their centralized database. Anytime anybody wants to withdraw, they will settle against their reserves. And likely, if everybody wanted to withdraw, they would have stopped. They would have stopped the withdrawals, and that's where the things like bankruptcies of exchanges.
They're the new banks.
Happen.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yo, you bring up a very good point. I haven't actually thought about it like that. That you're actually trading against their centralized database, and they're moving those like database numbers around, but in actuality, they're using your money to make more money. Dude, that's actually, I never thought about the 2-layer thing.
Well, think about it. Why do they work so fast? I mean, you get a transaction executed faster that you can blink. This isn't going to blockchain.
Yeah, you're trading ones and zeros on their screen, and you're like, hope when you hit withdrawal, there's actually crypto there. There could be absolutely nothing, and people are trading. You could be trading millions of ones and zeros on the screen. Who cares until you withdraw to your own wallet to prove it exists? Like, yeah, that's centralized exchanges. I tell people, if you don't need it on there, I wouldn't have it on there. You might not get it back.
Well, the sad part about it is that people tend to treat Binance, FTX, KuCoin as if it was E-Trade. And they think, if I'm doing this on E-Trade and I'm always been doing it and it always worked for me, all of that will also work on those, air quotes, the largest exchanges in America. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So, and the other problem is that if you bring a new person into crypto, their biggest friction is the wallet setup.
Yep.
Like they make the new wallet and they immediately forget their password. Right?
Or they write down their seed or something.
Or
lost it.
They follow the wrong FAQ of how to do it, and it will tell them to export their private key and put it in their iCloud.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden, anybody who hacks their iCloud or Dropbox with their private key that is not secure will gain control. So that in itself is just the lack of education. And that is the ultimate reason why so many people are using centralized exchanges. And those guys are exploiting the fact that they can basically say, look, you can lose your coins at any point if you're not doing anything properly, and you're not a technocratic, genius to be able to secure your own funds, right?
So keep them with us and you'll be fine.
Yeah. They're saying we'll help you to secure it, because look, everybody's using us. You don't need your keys. You don't need your wallets.
Okay, so let's go around the horn. That's a great point. How are you guys securing your keys? Obviously, without but it's like
I keep mine at Crypto Kindness's house. He keeps it secure right under
Yeah.
his bed.
Did you want the address?
That's where I keep it. Not even I have access.
No, Jake, I'd like to hear, actually, well, Jake, we'll start with you, because I know one of the things you were talking about, you told me in securing your keys, you said it was something that you learned from Google's experience. So maybe that'll lead us into something that Jack knows. And I want to hear what, Cryptographics and K4K are doing also. So Jake, start us off with how you're doing it. And I mean, this is good information. Everybody needs to know this.
Yeah, security is massive. So Jack probably knows about this. Have you heard of these thing called YubiKeys?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, dude, they're massive. Everybody should have one. It's physical two-factor authentication. And so when I talk about security, I talk about holistic security. It's not about just securing your seed words. It's about having a random password for every account that you have, not reusing the same password, having different variations, having them saved in like a zero knowledge proof database, similar to like LastPass or NordPass. I mean, it's just having security principles that you apply to everything, using a VPN on every single goddamn device that you have. Because man-in-the-middle attacks and sniffing attacks, because when I used to be a software engineer, I actually got into hacking a bit, because it looks so fancy on the movies, and then you get into it, you're like, this is the most boring thing in the entire world. So like there's this thing called sniffing attacks. And sniffing, man-in-the-middle, you can kind of like switch them around. But this is what happens to a lot of people when they lose their seed words. Like when you have a sniffing attack, for instance, is when you're on shared Wi-Fi with somebody, or like public Wi-Fi, and you log into an account. Well, that data packet goes from your computer to a satellite to a server, verifies back to the satellite, back to your computer. But in between that, somebody can catch it with something called a sniffer. There's different names for it. And they can essentially read that data packet and almost have your login information just there, clear as day. And they now have access to all of your accounts. And the moment they have access to your email account, that's when it gets very dangerous, because then they can just forget password almost everything. And almost nobody has two-factor authentication set up. And if they do, it's usually SMS, and it's incredibly easy nowadays to spoof or steal a phone number. And it's kind of like a trail, it's like this chain of effects. So when you talk about security, you just want to have very strong general security practices. And then storing seed words. I don't like getting super specific on this, but there's different ways. I travel a lot, so I store it a lot differently than people who have like their Fort Knox thing, like Richard probably has with his castle. So there are ways of doing it where you can actually store them very securely, where you're the only person that can access them, but it's not physical. So there's ways to do it. But it's just as long as you're generally secure, and everybody should look into these YubiKeys. They're massive. If you have a YubiKey linked to an account as your only two-factor authentication, you have essentially become unhackable without physical access to you and the YubiKey. Look into it.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, so I use one, but my philosophy is pretty simple. And that philosophy is that everything, like something like my social media, my email, is likely insecure, and it's going to be insecure, and it's insecure for majority of people. So we cannot use email as a layer of protection in any way. And we're talking about Google Drive, Google accounts, Dropbox, Box, what have you. So when it comes to the storage of crypto or storage of economic energy, there's very, very, very good guides out there that can explain to you exactly how you can secure things. First of all, your signing of transactions cannot occur on the device. It has to occur off the device using a hardware wallet of any type. They're all pretty good. They're all been researched, and they're doing a good job creating them to be user-friendly. So anytime you do a transaction, whether it's sending or receiving or signing anything, it just has to happen on something like Ledger. That's number one. Number two, the way to secure your ledger is with a PIN. Number three, you have to print your 24 code word sequence, and you have to store it separately in at least 2 locations, one of which could be a bank, like a security deposit box. The other one could be like literally in your drawer. Now, you have to then assume that those 24-word phrase unlocking code for your private key is also insecure. So in other words, you at any point in time, you're going to think, okay, this is as convenient to me that if I lose my ledger or any other hardware wallet, I can just look up the seed phrase and recover it. Now, you have to assume it's insecure, so you have to use the 25th phrase. And the 25th phrase is a password that shouldn't be written anywhere. It could be, should be long enough, 12 characters or longer. You should probably share it with at least one person that you really, really, really trust. Or you could do what Vitalik did. He had 2 integers. One was secure in his family home. The other one he carried with him. He purposely did not remember the first one, and the multiplication or the sum of the 2 integers gave him, let's say, 14-character password that could unlock a particular wallet in combination with the 24 key phrase on a piece of paper. So that is pretty much an unhackable way to do it, because all of the things out there are securing themselves. So even if somebody steals your 24 words, there's no way that they can use them, because you need the 25th one.
And that the nice thing about that 25th word is it does not have to come from the pre-populated list that comes in the
yeah, you make it yourself. It could
it can be up to like 50 characters too.
It could be, exactly. So I know a lot of people say, oh, well, what about quantum computers in the next, 10 years or whatever? Won't they be able to hack all these seed phrases? Maybe, but if you have a 25th word, no. Especially if you make it long with ups, downs, left, everything else. But that's a good point.
So quantum
If it
computers,
happens, you just fork it. So it doesn't really, like, if quantum computing can screw over everyone, well, then isn't everyone just gonna be like, oh, we'll just airdrop system state to this other thing that is quantum resistant, and then continue on? Probably have a dump from that, because obviously that everyone's hacked is a pretty bad headline. I hope that doesn't happen with MetaMask, with how many people use just a hot wallet. That's why, like, the video I'm most proud of on my channel is how to never get hacked in crypto. And I just tell people how to install basically what Jack Levin said. And I even have a newer one. I'm getting it edited too, to make it even more compact, so that people can, it's very important for the 25th word, so that, like, even if someone gets all your seed words, without the 25th word, they don't have access, if that's where you actually store your coin.
That's exactly right. It's like a password to a password.
Yeah, and then Shamir secret on top of that, if you want, is very easy with like a Trezor Model T to set that up, and that allows you to not keep like a whole set of words in either if you keep a part of it in your house or something like that. Because if you store the whole seed words in your house, then you give incentive to burglars to come into your house. You're like, oh, if I find it, might get lucky. But if you purposefully make it so that only like maybe one of the shares and then multiple are needed are at your home or something like that, and the rest are spread across to separate people that don't know each other, you can actually spread your, basically, what are they called? Because it's like lists of 20 words, and they're called shares. That's what they're called. Yeah. And basically you spread those around, and it's a bit more secure than having all of them in one spot. But if you use the 25th word, that's even more secure. You can mix that with Shamir's secret and spreading it across geographically. So there's like so many different levels you can get to, and it's good to educate yourself on how secure can you get and like how much is necessary. I try to be as secure as possible. You don't want to be a headline.
Colton, for those that are on our stream that don't know what Shamir's secret is, their name might be Crypto Kindness. Could you help us know what that is?
Yeah, basically it allows you this like N of M number of people, not even number of people. Basically this, you can have up to, at least on Trezor, it's very simple to set up with Shamir's secret, because I wanted to make a video on it before I had the Treasure Model T to show people, but it was like way more complicated than most people I figured would do. But with Trezor, it's pretty easy now. But basically, it allows you to split up your seed words into, you can do 10 of them, like it's 10 lists of 20. And then you could say you need at least 3 of them or 5 of them or 7 of them to actually create access to it. And what's nice is once you set all that up, if your hardware wallet has that seed in there, you don't actually have to like constantly keep track of the 10 lists or whatever, and like to log in. Like you have the constant instant access. It's just a little bit of extra setup at the start that makes you way more secure for the future. And then you geographically set up where you put these extra shares. And you can just do 3, and then you need like 3 shares of 20 words, and then you only need 2 to get it. And then you kind of share one of them with either someone you really trust, maybe like a family member who you would rather them have it if you passed away or something anyway. And basically you just are able to spread it around without having your whole seed words findable in one location. That's basically the benefit.
I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay, tell us why.
Okay, so the idea is super good, but human beings suck and human beings make mistakes. So if you give your keys to somebody and they die, or they have a car accident, or a house burns down, or they have water damage, or somebody else steals it, or a mate steals it, or you put it in a security deposit box and the clerk steals it. I mean, there's some, I don't like adding.
You don't have to trust your shares with people though. So yeah, people suck, but unless you suck, then you can put it in physical locations that you know won't, like, you could bury a safe somewhere, put one there, you know, stuff like that.
But I think it's necessary. I think the thing that Jack talked about is a lot cleaner. I would just split it in 2, put it in 2 extreme secure boxes. There are ways you can do it online that are not in iCloud, Dropbox. You do it in like these zero knowledge proof encrypted databases. You split it across 3 different ones. Then you have a passphrase that you just remember, or have it physical near you. There are ways to do it where you don't have to have physical or middleman risk or other people involved into the process. But you do have to have some kind of a tech background to kind of set that up and manage it.
Yeah, and you can also just split up your 24 seed words from your 25th word as well if you do keep it on paper somewhere. Or
you have to.
I wouldn't recommend paper, but metal.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to. And ideally, this is something like, you know, it could be in disclaimer, that's not what I'm doing, but I heard other people suggest that they should do it. Like take your phone number from when you had a landline, reverse it in the middle, or split it into 2 halves and multiply it. That's it. I mean, like, you can never forget it. So, and then add some characters afterwards. So it's just so.
You're talking about the passphrase?
Yeah, the 25th passphrase. It is so simple to have something that's uniquely yours that you will never forget. And then you're like, hey, Jimmy, what was the phone number you used to call me? I forgot. I needed to recover my crypto.
Yeah,
but you're setting people on the right track, I think, for what they can think of that only they'll remember. Maybe don't use that one because we just mentioned it, but something like that, you know, there's lots of things like that people.
It has to be kind of like mentally mnemonic that is unique to you, right?
Yeah.
Or something that you have affinity with, and then it's impossible not to remember it. So.
Yeah, correct. Like what I kind of recommend for people with their passphrase is everybody kind of has this one password that they've always used and will always remember. I still remember my first password. So let's say it's like K for K123. You would essentially just take that.
I gotta change my password.
So like K for K123, and your passphrase would essentially just be K for K123 with like an exclamation mark at the end. So it's a small variation that you don't use anywhere else, but that way you easily remember it, because that's the biggest thing. Easily remember it.
Yeah.
Cryptographics, do you have anything to add to this? You've been quiet back there. I apologize.
I'm just listening because you know what? I mean, I'm kind of I'm not the guy to go to for security. If anything, that's the thing that I'm not up to snuff with. But you know, I'm with a lot of what you guys are saying is like offline storage, hardware wallet. I think the big thing for me is if I overcomplicate it, I'm not the type of person to forget it, but this is the type of thing that I will forget something. So I need to find a way for me, and I think for people too, like, you know, find the place where you're comfortable and know that you're not going to forget stuff, and that whatever that is, if that's full max security, at least this is my opinion anyways, you know, if max security is the way for you where you're not going to forget anything and it's fully secure, and you know that you have systems in place where you're not going to forget things, do it 100%. But if max for you where you're not going to forget and it's not too complicated is a hardware wallet and offline storage, which works for me as well. And maybe in the future I'll change that, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, working with something that is you're not gonna forget. That's the biggest thing for me.
The easiest thing to do is not tell anybody you're in crypto and not have a bunch of web pages on your internet.
The funniest thing that Trezor does, if you like buy a hardware, or even Ledger too, comes with a box full of stickers. What am I gonna do? Put a bunch of Trezor stickers on my car and put it on my house? Trezors are in here, guys. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Where do people place these stickers? Their laptop? That's even more of a lull. Like,
in the co-working space. Trezor all over your laptop.
Put them on other people's cars.
Go to Starbucks.
True. Your neighbor's car.
Oh yeah, you know, if you want them, if you really don't like somebody, that what you do.
Just set decoys everywhere.
You heard it here first, guys. Stay on Jack's good side.
Put the sticker on their car. Bitcoin OG, been mining since 2011. Right?
Rip.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Rip.
They're gonna park somewhere, and they're gonna have. I mean, I would say it's likely would more often to happen in Florida. I don't think people in California are gonna like go after it. But like in Florida, yeah.
That's why I totally respect Richard's choice to like not tell everyone where he lives, because he's right. What are people more likely to send you? Like bombs in the mail with glitter or birthday gifts, you know? Maybe Richard would get more gifts, but I don't think he's willing to risk the SWAT raids and all that. It's not worth it. People don't need to know where you're residing all the time. Like, to be an honest person, does everyone need to know where you're at all the time? No.
I think it's just makes him more enigmatic, and it drives value. That's the reason.
True.
That's a fair point.
So I don't think he's really worried about people going after him.
No, I don't. I agree.
I mean, yeah, maybe. If you're
Dude, but he's in crypto since the beginning. Wrenches are scary.
Yep.
All right, so Jack and Jake and everybody on here, this is, we're an hour into it, so this is where we have the maximum people at this point. So now let's start talking about things that are getting people really excited.
Just getting warmed up.
Getting warmed up, right? And this is where everybody can chip in, and I get to be quiet, which is probably a good thing. Jack, I listened to your stream with Crypto Coffee yesterday, and at the very end, for me, the real like aha came at the very end, and that was the two of you were talking about. Crypto Coffee was saying, like, when PulseChain launches, it's just a fork of Ethereum, so it's not like this. And I'm not like bad mouthing Crypto Coffee at all, but his position is like, it's not like the most exciting thing in the world. And you said something that I want to elaborate here with this group. You said, well, but wait a minute. It's being recoded in, what is it, Golang? What is it called? Golang? Golang. It's being recoded in Golang, and your enthusiasm level for that alone was significantly higher than his, and I don't think he picked up on it at the time. So why are you so excited about PulseChain being recoded in Golang? And I know, Jake, you've talked about this. The other two know about it a bit too. So let's get into why that's a big deal.
Well, I think it's bigger deal than most people realize, due to the fact that I think the ethos of Pulse was just a better virtual machine. So better virtual machine that runs faster. There are less load on the network, so you can have more transactions, and therefore you have no gas fees that you need to pay, or not as much gas fees. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a cool experiment, and this is something that, how Richard would put it, he can flex with it. Like, he can say, look, this is a Golang representation of a virtual machine. It works better because it's more secure, it's faster, it has a better assembly on a transactional level when it comes to using hardware, this and that. I mean, certainly very interesting. I think it will make everything faster. At the same time, obviously, there will be bugs, and that's why it's we don't know when it's coming out. So, but it's definitely interesting.
Jake, what are your thoughts?
I like it a lot. like the whole like Golang thing, because the way you kind of for people who are not like coders and software engineers, you can kind of look at like the blockchain as blocks, like literal physical blocks. And when you have transactions, you put things into the block. Better thing is a closet. You have a closet instead of a block, and if you put things into the closet, at some point the closet is going to be full, and that's why you have bidding on blocks, because people have to pay more to get into the same block so that they get the spot in the closet and other people don't. So a part of that closet is also clogged up with the actual like computational power or computation that is happening on the blockchain. So the fact that they're putting it in Golang and doing it off of the blockchain, off of the like instead of in the closet, they're doing it next to the closet, which means there's more space in the closet. So more transactions can fit in, which increases the throughput, which adds more flex value, and we're going to flex on everybody.
On everyone.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Booyah.
So that's the simplest way to look at it. You look at the block as a closet, and then instead of having all of the computation happen inside of the closet, you take that and you put it out of the closet, so more fits into the closet. And then you just have a bunch of closets next to each other, and that's called a blockchain. I like it. I like it a lot, because then we actually beat Binance Smart Chain. I'm not sure what the actual throughput increase is, but I mean, it's very, very, very significant, because I know there's projects on Ethereum that focus solely on that. I think one is like TrueBit. I don't think they're ever going to get adopted, but it's a very similar approach of taking the computational stuff instead of on Ethereum, they're doing it off of Ethereum, which would increase the scalability by a lot.
Are you guys familiar with the concept of the blockchain trilemma?
Nope.
The trilemma. Oh, what? You can only have 2 of the 3.
It's not that you can have 2 of the 3. You have to be in balance between all 3. So the 3 things that we're talking about,
Solana.
it's the speed, it's stability. What's the third one? Security? I forget.
Yeah.
Security.
Yeah. So Solana goes down all the time. They're super fast.
But when it's up, the hackers can steal money very quickly.
That's true. I would say it's quick.
Record speed.
It's quick for all purposes. So the problem is that it's not as stable, it goes down all the time. Then we have Ethereum that's not very fast, but it's very, very stable.
And expensive. Maybe that's part of the triangle too, is like how expensive usually. But.
Yeah, I mean, being expensive is actually a good thing, believe it or not. Especially after the London
the price
release.
Of the coin.
No. I mean, they burn billions of dollars in fees, right? So that makes Ethereum itself is more disinflationary than it was before. So the more you burn, obviously, the less money or coins out there in accounting when it comes to the market cap. So that's a good thing. The other thing is that it actually and that's my devil's advocate why the high gas is good. It will let's say that you're launching a project and you're worried about the Sybil attacks. So Sybil attacks are less likely to occur when the gas is expensive, because even the simplest transaction is going to cost you $100 or $50. So it's a barrier to entry, and it's a validator for somebody who is doing.
I have a question for you, Jack. It's related to this.
Sure.
So you know how it's so fast and you're excited about it? I am too. Everyone here is excited about the fast, cheap transactions. If it's like really going to be so cheap, isn't it going to be possible to spam the blockchain and just fill up the blocks with whatever transactions, because it's so cheap? Like you said, like it's a prohibitive, just that happening if it's expensive, but it's going to be cheap.
Which blockchain are we talking about?
Oh, for PulseChain. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think what may happen,
it might be cheap to spam it up, is what I'm saying.
I mean, let's say it's free, right? So anybody can create or connect their wallets somewhere. Ultimately, there needs to be economic incentives or disincentives to do it or not to do it. And that's where people really need to think deep of how to implement it properly. Like, for example, it may be free to do a transaction, but coming from that particular region of where the wallet is being originated from, perhaps there would be like some sort of throttling mechanism of a sort. But ultimately, it depends on what type of a transaction, right? So does anybody remember any good examples of this Sybil attack, like what people did in and why they did it. Usually it's like some sort of airdrop registration where people say, hey, come to this page, connect your wallet, and we're going to give you a coin or 100 coins each time you connect, or at some point after, like in a month. So without the Ethereum gas fees, you could simply like run a bot and connect 1 million or 100 million of those wallets.
Yeah.
So, and that is a problem, and that is something that you need to deal with on the economic level. Like I think with the Ethereum 2.0, where you need to have 32 ETH to actually start mining with the blocks, there will be a mechanism that actually will somehow control it. I just need to look deeper into it and research a little bit more. But it definitely is a problem, and I think the projects that are airdropping, shitcoins to everyone, they shouldn't exist anyway, right? So maybe it would be a good segue for them to be out, to move out of the ecosystem.
They can always do like how Hex did, wasn't it? Like I think Richard calls it a pool system. So people go and they claim it themselves as opposed to it being pushed to everybody, because that fills up all the blocks, basically. But
well, yeah, I mean, like I would say airdrops. Whoever does the airdrop pays. So back in the day, 8 months ago, when Ethereum
crypto is a weird place.
Yeah,
you're like, back in the day. Was that
So-
last week?
Yeah.
So back in the day, last year, a friend of mine was saying, "Hey, I just paid $150,000 just to airdrop to 100,000 people." So
Wow.
I'm like, "Wow, that's a lot of money." And you're airdropping, just trying to get people involved in your project. You don't even know if your project is going to fly, right? So I would say the better way is when you're designing an economically viable system, is that you have a person come in, register with their wallet, and then do a follow-up action. Potentially, the other way to do it would be is that for you to do a registration, you need to deposit some of your stable coins that you can claim after a waiting period.
That sounds. I don't know if people would do that. It's such a bar of entry.
It is, but you don't
Unless
get
it's
fake
like a
people.
trusted contract, I guess.
I mean, well, a trusted contract, it's open source, so you look at it. You have like one of our friends, Mr. Feeder, review it, and everybody will like, "Yep, it will cost me $50 to do this. I am now registered. I'm gonna get it back after a waiting period." So
You know, one thing I haven't heard you comment on. Maybe you have, but what do you think about PulseX?
is
Dex and the coin, I guess.
that the Uniswap thing?
Yeah, Richard's version.
With the green X, whatever.
Are you pretending not to know what it is? Or do you? I mean, if you don't, that's. I thought you might have an opinion on it.
I do have an opinion on it. I think it's awesome.
Oh.
I mean, I think.
Okay.
I mean, well, think about it. The chain has to have its own DEX, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. It has to, because for the ecosystem to thrive, you do not want to go off chain. Like why would you not simply just clone Uniswap? So totally great idea. I think. I mean, I'm sure this is a very, very difficult process to get it off the ground, but if it does get off the ground, then that's awesome, right?
Yeah. All right.
So it's the best thing in the world.
I think
He hasn't bought enough yet. He's not going to show it yet.
I think let's just say that
We need it.
if it doesn't exist, we can call it the best thing in the world, right? Because
that's
there's no expectations. The expectations are infinite. It's like the same thing with startups. You come up with an idea and then you raise money,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
If you have remember Silicon Valley, the show,
Oh, dude, I love. Yeah.
where he says no users, no traction, no revenue, because as soon as you show that you have anything,
It's never enough.
people can put value on it, and they're not going to give you the 100 or 1,000 multiple on your idea. So when you come up with an idea and you present it to the world interprets it based on how it's presented. And it's like, the dream is always more valuable than reality.
We did kind of raise money for it, though. so it kind of does have a value. You know,
It
there was a
not
rate
quite, not
to
quite, because
get allocation.
it is still in the land of being developed, and it's kind of like in a thought stage, because before you launch, you can make any changes you want. Let's say you don't like Golang, so okay, go back to the other language that it's been forked for, or you don't like the way that Uniswap works. Okay, change it completely. So so yeah, I mean, it's still the valuation of ideas are always much greater than the valuation of the things that are real. So yeah, I mean, it is the best thing in the world because it's.
And I have a better question for you then.
Yeah.
Because I know two things that do exist, and I am curious your thoughts. So do you think Hex is better than Ethereum for store of value?
Hex. Okay.
It's completely different. Like the whole financial angle of the two products are entirely different. The
One's
problem with
immutable though.
that doesn't matter. Let's assume that the first principles of crypto are not violated. The economic implication for either of the coins are completely different. Just the simple fact that Ethereum is like close to 2,000 makes it less interesting. That's one. And in Hex is like whatever, 5 cents, 6 cents, can still have multiples when it comes to also like adoption level. So with Hex, we have like what, 350,000 wallets or like 400,000, I forget.
Well, I am kind of asking the question in its current form now, not like if Ethereum and Hex launch at the same time, which is a better investment, because obviously we can't go back in time, so it's less interesting than now.
Well, Ethereum gains its value based on the amount of participation on the chain. So, and that is unquestionable truth. So as it builds the ecosystem, Ethereum just will become more valuable. And that's that. So you're literally, when you're buying Ethereum, you're buying, like I would say, a share in the future of all the projects that are being thought of today and not even implemented. But within like 10 years, there could be 1 million projects, and 100 of them could be pivotal for the human existence. And you can own those shares, technically. The risk is still there. Now, when it comes to Hex, so Hex, as Richard would say, is a safe within a safe, right? So it is secured by Ethereum, eventually will be secured by Pulse. It is questionable where it's going to be more secure, because Pulse is simply new, and Ethereum did have its bugs in the past. So I would say Hex is interesting for the fact that you can really learn about blockchain and crypto and understand the principles just by executing on the contract and doing things what the contract was designed to do. When it comes to Ethereum, you are like layer 0, I would say. You're layer 0 when it comes to innovation. And it's very different. But again, it has all those problems. 50% of it is traded off chain. It's definitely manipulated. Vitalik could do anything he wants, but so is anyone. So, I mean, Vitalik did.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like an easy question. I just was curious on your thoughts.
No, I mean, like, if somebody would ask me what should they be buying, I would say it's definitely a personal choice. And those are the arguments. So the arguments are you investing into an ecosystem that's being built out, and it's number one in terms of the programmable web or programmable money, or you want to participate in the concepts of first principles of crypto and get in somewhere that's you're still relatively early. So that's a completely different mindset for two different people.
So I got a question for the group based on something you just said, Jack. You said that buying Ethereum today is like buying a share of all of the projects that are launching in the future. Same could be said about PulseChain, I feel. So cryptographics, we'll start with you on this question. Where do you think is most valuable? I mean, there's projects launching every day that we're hearing about, sacrifices for this, sacrifices for that, all supposed to be on PulseChain. What's a better buy? PulseChain itself, like Jack said, which is a share of all of the future projects, or sacrificing for those particular projects, one off? What do you think?
Say I have like an answer like I know is
Sacrificing
like
for what projects? I didn't hear that.
just
Any projects.
well, I
Well,
mean, I
no.
think if you're investing in Hex, PulseChain, or PulseX, you're investing in the core infrastructure essentially. Like, I mean, Hex is like the core of why PulseChain exists, and then PulseChain is the chain built basically because of Hex, and you got PulseX is going to be the infrastructure built on top that allows people to utilize the system for Hex that was built for Hex. I mean, if you're investing in, if you're sacrificing, I mean, you might, I mean, the way I look at it, and I could be completely wrong here, but it seems like maybe there might be higher upside in the short term if you're sacrificing for things, but the chances of things failing in the long term are going down because they're not the core of the ecosystem. And so if you're betting on the core of the ecosystem, maybe you don't see a 50 or a 500x in 6 months on something, but you also don't see the downside of you didn't sell at that top and then the whole thing crashed, and yet everything goes up over the next 10 years. That's the core. And you missed out on another 10,000x, or maybe it's like a 15,000x or something crazy like that. So while I think, sacrifices are cool for short-term bets, I think that, you're better safe with something like even Ethereum, betting on Ethereum. Like Ethereum's going to be around for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how it does, we don't know, but it's going to be around for the long haul. So, I mean, betting on something like Ethereum is a much safer bet than, something like a sacrifice, in my opinion, at least.
What do you think, Colton?
What about a Richard Hart NFT? Could that be the best potential investment of your life?
That's an interesting one. I have no idea. You put it best. It's like, it could be the best thing or it could be the worst.
Because if there's only 5,555 and it's part of the Hex community and Richard Hart's ecosystem, you're going to have 15 years of potential airdrops only to 5,000-ish people or less, right?
It's true, but
that's
there's
the lowest
of
liquidity
like
coin Richard's ever made. Imagine the price on each one.
But
and it might get, I know NFTs are silly in stuff like profile pictures. He doesn't like overpaying, but he's going to make it better than others. He said it could be the best. It could be the worst thing. We'll see.
I mean, it really depends.
It's kind of funny. Because so you have PulseChain, then you have PulseX. Yo, this is the best thing ever. And then you have the wallet. Yo, this could be the best thing ever. And I have NFT. This is the best thing ever.
No. I think wallet scales the most because it could be a multi-chain wallet, and if it integrates, because then it's touching every crypto. You're like, oh, they build this wallet good enough, and it works for everything, and they have like swapping inside, and some of that fee is used to buy up its own token that it has. That hits everything. It's every chain.
Could be nuts.
And so MetaMask makes like 200,000 a day or something. It's crazy.
I want to play devil's advocate. Onboarding people into a wallet is the hardest job in the entire world, and a wallet will not get any appreciation outside of just like narratives and memes without onboarding. Like literally, like there are projects that try to be a wallet. Man, do you know how hard you have to convince people to download a wallet and put that economic energy into a new wallet? I mean, the onboarding is absolutely insane. It's not easy to just buy a new coin or buy a new blockchain or the new, So that's why I'm like, it's just devil's advocate.
I think that the rebuttal to that would be like, if it's Richard Hart building a wallet, I mean, like he's built so much trust. It's not like someone random or some random company coming up and saying like, hey, we've got a wallet now. And everyone's like, who the hell are you? It's like RH, his developers. We have the core.
Yeah. If some other guy was like, I made a wallet, I'd be like, that steals all my private keys probably.
Exactly.
No thanks. Yeah. But if Richard builds it, I'm like, that's probably the safest wallet out there, is what I would think.
I like Richard a lot. And I don't know. I think MetaMask is just fine. There's no pain point. And in business, you need a pain point. Why would I switch from Gmail to anything else? I like Gmail. I don't have any issues with Gmail.
Yeah, but I heard like the WEF is involved with like owning a parent company of who controls MetaMask.
I've heard about that, yeah.
That sounds sus. I'd like something more from the market itself as opposed to like the people that are involved with the WEF.
Because you can just change the nodes?
Yeah, I mean, but we want to be vertically integrated with everything. So I think he's going to get to it eventually. If he thought it was more important, he'd probably build it sooner. But I think it's important to have the actual chain itself as a huge improvement. And regarding, you know how we're talking about how, the chain itself gets like the most benefit from new projects coming on later and later, because, it requires ownership of the native coin for the gas. And so you're like, well, you have to buy some gas. All right, so that forces buying if they want to use anything new on the chain. Well, I know we're talking about coins that aren't out yet, but PulseX benefits even more from those coins existing on chain than the chain coin itself, PulseChain, because that buy and burn gets a lot more actual effect of the price because it's all on chain from people trading new coins that come into the ecosystem. So these 200 plus projects that we see like coming out for PulseChain, there might be 500, but there's a lot out there. I saw 200 plus list. That's all stuff that's going to be volume on chain, and PulseX benefits like magnitudes greater than PulseChain does, because PulseChain you only need one pulse to do all your transactions, pretty much, because it costs almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But PulseX gets huge buyback and burn from volume where people are trading. Even though we don't want people to trade, PulseX benefits from people doing it. So this seems like a great coin.
One thing I want to touch on before I forget, and this was something I was supposed to ask you, Jack, when we were talking about first principles, but you were talking about learning about blockchain and making sure it's safe and things like that. Tell us about the project you're launching today. You were mentioning that to us early on.
Yeah, faircrypto.org. It's a nonprofit foundation that is focusing on education, and we'll have projects that will be aligned with the first principles of crypto. So you guys can check out the webpage right now. It's live. The links are there, but the links don't take people anywhere. It's just basically the mission statement for the foundation. And from there, I plan to release a series of white papers that will be given to the community for review and just any sort of feedback.
Are these projects like projects you'll find, like, or found, or like found yourself, like you create them? Is that the type of projects you mean?
Yeah, I would be the one launching them essentially.
Okay.
But
I
I
wasn't
would
sure if
also
you meant you were gonna like research them and then bring them to us or something like that.
Yeah, I would say probably in the beginning, at least, it's going to be several projects that I will launch. But at some point, there is a plan in the works to fund the projects that aligned with the first principles of crypto.
Now, are these projects you're talking about launching in the future, are these PulseChain based projects or Ethereum, or where do you want to spend your time developing?
I would say both, because obviously PulseChain is supposed to be compatible. So I did kind of like made a little bit of a joke about the apple cider vinegar coin that I'm working on. And I asked the Twitter, I'm like, hey, should it be on Pulse? And they're like, well, it's if you do it on Ethereum, you can do it now, and then it will be copied to Pulse. So why not just do it on Ethereum? Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
What about you had mentioned in one of your streams that I was listening to a I don't know if it was like an exchange or something, but it was you were pretty hot on it because it gave greater ability to capitalize on quick wicks up and down. It's an exchange. I think you called it Hogera.
Kujira. It's Kujira.
Okay, how are you spelling that?
Kugira. It
No
was
wonder why I couldn't find it in Google. Not even close.
Yeah, let me send it to you. Oh, because
wait, what does it allow you to do?
Yeah, is this something you might be building?
Let me go into details what it does first.
Okay.
Or what it used to do before right. Before Terra imploded. So that was the project that allowed people to participate in fund liquidations, should there are any liquidations. Like, for example, let's say that you want to buy something cheap, right? Some sort of a coin. And those coins, they have up weeks and down weeks. Should there be a massive week down and liquidation is happening, you can basically say that I will scoop up the drop of that week right at the bottom of it. So, like, in other words, within 10% of the lowest hit. So that was a project that was on chain that you could put up the money to fund the fact that people are getting liquidated, and you will only buy during those liquidation events. So it's similar to a limit order, except it's continuously moving and searching for the market conditions of something being imploded. So when something implodes, usually you're the first quote unquote bot to buy it, and then all other bots and arbitrage bots come in to buy it right there and sell it somewhere else because it's cheaper. And so you're kind of like an ARB bot, except you're not doing an ARB, you're just scooping up the coins that have been unfairly liquidated because somebody took a loan against them or whatnot.
That's cool. Crazy.
That is not what I'm building.
No, well, I was saying you had expressed some interest in that, and you were talking about building multiple projects. So I wasn't sure if you were thinking about building something similar to that.
Yeah. So what I'm building is a project that you can't lose money on.
Okay, tell me more.
Look at his smile as he
in.
says it. He knows we're waiting to be like, that doesn't sound possible. Please.
Well, let me ask you a question. If there was anything that you cannot lose money on, what should that be? Like, what is something that I can give you that cannot go down?
I mean, if you got it for free, you can't lose money on it. Is that what you mean?
That is one of the ways to express it, yes. But ultimately, something.
Airdrop.
Okay, so Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin was at 0, it could not go down.
Gotcha.
So one of the tenets of the project that I'm working on is to give people the coins at 0 value. You still have to work for it somehow, but you're not going to be using your dollars. It will be a project that plugs into the first principles, starts at 0, and similar to proof of stake, except there's nothing that you're staking.
So people do things and then they earn this thing?
Yes. So it's an action towards the mint of a coin that you can create, and it's worth 0 at the time of creation. At some point, it will be worth something because there will be more people doing those actions.
Yeah, because won't that coin find a value in the market? And if people can still earn it, then they're earning something of value. It can't stay at 0 forever, right?
Well, that's the idea. The idea is that, but you want to have the coin at 0 first, right? If you get into it, then even if it's worth, like, the difference between 0 and 8 zeros and 1 is infinity, actually. Right. So anything that's 0, like, you cannot divide by 0 because you get something that's not reasonable. Or
is that what you did and took down the Google servers?
That's exactly what I did.
Does this action that we need to do to earn the coin, does it involve twerking? Because
Push-ups,
K4K
maybe?
is very good at twerking.
It may work.
I would love it.
It may
It's
work.
like you're making a blockchain game or something where people earn things for participating in an environment.
Here's what people don't understand. Everything is a game, and if your life doesn't feel like a game, you're not playing it right.
Oh.
Is that why you reskinned your background? Upgraded?
Reskin? Yeah. Got a different NFT.
Skins? IRL? It looks cool, though. It does remind me of Joe Rogan.
Yeah. I just wanted something, something different. This room is really, it's my office, but I heard that to have the best representation, people have to look at your face and not necessarily what's going on behind you. And I have, like, dogs running around, people running around. Somebody made a comment, are you in your mom's basement? I'm like, yeah.
Your mom's basement, nice.
Drinking apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so back to the project. So the project will teach people how to use blockchain for what it really is. It will have no trading on centralized exchanges, or in any way that I could discourage it, I will. It's definitely going to be Ethereum compatible, and it follows the method of distribution I call the Poisson distribution. So Poisson distribution is a parabola that starts from 0 and it reaches a peak, and then there's an inclination point at the top, and then it drops off and becomes logarithmic. So that is what I'm designing. So most of the coins, they come into existence by being pre-minted first. Like, for example, Baby Doge, they came up with 420 quadrillion coins, and they're quickly trying to burn them to give them any value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that is a problem, because what they're really doing is that they're hiding the fact that out of the 420 quadrillion, like 10 quadrillion the founders have. So nothing about it is centralized. There is a financial centralization that's pressuring the fact that it's really kind of not. It looks like true crypto, but it's not, because somebody has a
Like
giant
BNB,
bag.
because BNB they do burns manually and stuff like that. I think they might have a burn contract now, but for a while there, they would every week burn coins, and they own a lot of them too. So
Burn is good, but it's an effective way to give value to a coin after you created a shitload of them. It is the same thing as buying back the stock on the open market by a company. Unfortunately, a lot of people are violating first principles of crypto, launching a coin that is really a security and promising people to work on it and to make it more valuable. The burn itself, or if at inception you tell somebody it's going to have this burning function, it's actually telling people that your coin will be worth something more in the future. That makes it a security. That is really not true crypto. So
well, what do you say about PulseChain and PulseX then?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just the parameters of the code. You can use it or not. Why does that make it a security? A man's not doing that. The computer is.
Does automation change whether it's a security or not in that sense, or is
if the code exists at the time of somebody, it's all about timing. When you give somebody coins and you're saying, here are the coins, they're worth nothing, but they're going to be worth more because I'm going to come up with this new
if
code.
it doesn't launch with it already created. Yeah.
If it's launched with the code and there's no admin keys, then you're not promising anything. You're just establishing the parameters of the financial system. Right. But if you're telling people, like a lot of NFT projects, they have this giant roadmap. They're saying, here's a duck with a toilet paper roll. Now it's going to have a house. It's going to have adventures with its duckling friends.
Wow, I gotta see these NFTs you're finding, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like a winner.
DuckTales NFTs.
Who cares about PulseChain?
So the new project that I'm working on, it will have no cap, but it will have no coins either. So when people participate in it, they're going to mint their own coins at the time when they're participating. Nothing's pre-minted, and there's no foundation's hold of the tokens of any kind. So literally everything is at 0, including the total number of tokens available.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
This way, everybody can win.
It sounds cool.
Do you mean like people will be getting almost like a representation of how many tokens they will get? Because how can it have 0 after launch? Maybe I'm missing something.
Okay, so let's go through a scenario. Let's say that this thing is launching and you need to participate in it. So how do you participate? You need a wallet.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you do is you connect the wallet to the Web3 interface to Ethereum contract that is on-chain, immutable, has no admin keys. Now that contract will do something when you connect to it, right? Like, for example, you can come back in 30 days or 90 days or 180 days. Based on how many days you waited, you could mint the coins for yourself by the virtue of delayed gratification of getting them. You could also get a rank relative to other people that are participating in the ecosystem. So you know how Ethereum has the ENS domain names? So like jacklevin.com.eth. So similarly with the rank, you can get into the contract. It will assign you a rank, and based on the type of the rank you got, you will be able to mint the coins in the future based on how long you have waited to receive them.
I see. So it's 0 for yourself until you basically claim them at a certain later date, and then you get more if you waited longer. So you do have 0 until a later date.
Exactly.
But
And
then there will
when
be
you-
a public trading at day 1 because somebody's going to mint 1 and be like, 1 for $10,000, please.
Why
You know?
not? Hey, price discovery is part of the ecosystem.
I mean, that's a cool idea. I have to think about it.
And now think about it this way. Let's say that you got this really cool rank, 777, right? And you're
You have my
saying,
attention.
sure. And let's say that you have selected your days to wait to be 30 days.
Oh, you have
What
to
happens
select
after
at the start?
Yeah, from the start.
Oh, I thought you could just, wait the longest and get more or something.
You
Okay.
can, but how long can you wait? What if you specify? So you have to declare how long you need to wait. If you wait 1,000 days, that's 3 years. It may be too long.
Well, too long for what?
For what if the whole thing pumps and it's like worth $1,000 a coin?
Then you get a lot more in 3 years of that.
What if it dumps just right there?
That's the same thing with Hex. Is like maybe you end a stake when it's at the peak, and maybe you end it when it's at the bottom of a bear market. But as long as it's got product market fit, it should pump in the next cycle. Like every.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The longer you wait, the more you're supposed to make. Now, the interesting part is that let's say that somebody does not want to wait and they're only doing 30 days. They have to give up their rank once they claim. So once they claim, the 777 rank is swapped out and goes into the past. Now, this rank is a crypto rank that I'm calling Crank.
Crank, as in like, isn't that a name for a certain drug?
It is. Well, it will give you dopamine, I'm sure.
That's right.
So actually, it's kind of like a play on.
Crank.
So Larry Page, when he created Google, he had this thing called PageRank. Right.
Oh, did you say rank or crank?
Crank?
Oh, you did say
Crypto rank is Crank.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, I get it.
So I figured if Google had PageRank, why can't we have crypto rank? And we're gonna call it Crank for short.
Nice. Is it going to be called the Crank coin? Maybe you're giving away too much at this point. But that's a great name.
No, the Crank is just your crank.
I love
but
it.
it's only for that one coin. It's not all of crypto rank or whatever. But.
Yeah. That's your rank of the level of participation. Now,
doesn't it cause an issue where there's almost like not meat left on the bone for certain people if you didn't get in at the very, very start, because you can't go back in time and start your days that you're willing to wait. Everyone else past the start date has to buy it on the market only.
Well, so let's say that the tokenomics, and this is in the air still until I release the white paper, but the tokenomics could be something like this. You get in on January 1st and you say 180 days. 180 days is a multiplier of a certain quotient of how many coins you're going to be minting for yourself. Now, the way that the community effect comes into play is that in 180 days, if you bring in your friends that bring in your friends that bring in their friends, and there's 1 million people joining, the future rank is going to be your rank plus 1 million, right? So it's the people join the system as you invited them. So you're encouraged to bring people in so that everybody's rank is much, much higher. Now you get compensated for 1 million minus your rank or your rank multiplied by the number of days. So that's kind of like the proposed economics. So rather than pushing other people away, you're bringing people in, and everything is growing in value based on the total number of people joining after you. So the more people you bring and the more people they bring, the bigger the ecosystem is, the more everybody makes the coins.
I see.
So is this like a launch phase type thing? Because once it launches, you can't go back and choose to wait longer, right?
You actually, that is the primary function of learning what crypto is all about. So it's not the launch phase. It's its own tokenomics that basically runs throughout forever. So in other words, if there's 1 million people or 1 million wallets connected to the smart contract, then the new rank is going to be 1,000,001, right? And everybody's welcome to.
Well, I'm excited to see the white paper and stuff. When that comes out, that'd be cool.
Yeah. But basically, it's like this: it's 0 coins. You mint those coins yourself, and the more people you invite, you're kind of like participating in this social game, so to speak.
Does it have infinite referral? Does it last forever? Like I could be referring people 10 years from now. Your coins.
Absolutely.
Oh my.
Absolutely.
I mean, isn't
now here's the thing: the more people that you invite, the bigger the value, because the value is ultimately in the community. Like a lot of people think, oh, this coin
if it's
must
a
do
good
something.
thing, then I guess referring could work forever. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If the community grows, like for example, Dogecoin community, they launched it, they didn't even know what it's going to be, and the community formed around it and gave the value to the coin that was basically meant for tipping. Right.
It's almost like if Hex didn't get rid of its referral system, because what the referral that Hex had was it would mint more coins to pay both parties more. And so I'm guessing yours does the same thing, but you just don't end the referral phase.
It never ends.
That could work. Maybe.
It never ends. So technically you could print or mint infinite amount of tokens. However,
because can you refer yourself? How do you keep people from like?
If you refer yourself, so let's say that we have a Sybil attack. So your rank, let's say 10, and then you connect 1 million wallets to the system. So you have just moved the difference between 10 and 1 million and times the number of days. That's how many coins you can mint for yourself. The issue is that there are other people in the system, and the people that you have referred actually move their rank as well. So they also get the coins by your action. So what you have just done, you have diluted yourself and gave a bunch of coins to the rest of the community. So it's not just you that's getting the coins, it's everybody. So as you invite people in...
Well, if it wasn't a benefit for me to refer people, you wouldn't do it, right?
There is a benefit.
You must get some benefit, right? I'm not like screwing myself by referring people, right?
When the system is growing, the idea is that you refer some people who refer other people. And then you're at the bottom, and you have the most delta between the people that are coming in that you're not referring, but the others are referring. So as the system grows and the network effect takes hold, it just becomes a very, very large referral program under the umbrella of understanding what the crypto is, so that people can play with something that's completely free.
So the referral itself is more for the system's benefit rather than individual benefit, while the individual still benefits? Exactly. Right.
It's a closed loop economy. So you can join and you don't even have to refer anybody. But if other people are referring their friends because they want to benefit themselves, they're also benefiting you.
Right.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I want to see the white paper.
We're getting a little bit long here, so I want to make sure.
That's like a whole stream or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but I'm sure you'll want to do when it comes out and gets closer.
Yeah, the white paper is coming, and you guys will be able to access it on faircrypto.org, and I'll probably tweet about it. And what I want to do is I want to get the white paper out, get people to really get into it, mentally, rather than like dumping a project on everybody's heads and everybody's rushing in to do something and they don't understand what they're doing. So it's going to be a delayed fair launch without anybody needing to put up any sort of cash up front or anything like that.
Nice.
Oh,
that's really cool.
That's different for sure.
So Jack, I got a question for you, and I hope this spawns some questions from the group. But I was thinking about something you said in a stream the other day, and that is when you were part of the Google team, you were joining a team for search engines. And at the time, there was already 7 or 8 other search engines on the market. And you were curious, how is this search engine going to be better? This type of stuff. I learned that from listening to you on Crypto Heartbeats stream. The question I have for you is, what parallels can you draw, if any, to the current situation with PulseChain? PulseChain is launching. There's a lot of conversation we've had about how it's going to be, I don't want to say superior, but a very, very good competitor to the layer 1 smart chain market. But there's already a lot of layer 1s out there, Ethereum, Binance.
No, we're helping Ethereum by removing their load.
But knowing that there's a lot of really good things that PulseChain brings to the market, are there any kind of parallels you can draw between how PulseChain is launching into kind of an already crowded layer one market, similar to your experience at Google, launching a project into an area where there's already a lot of other search engines out there. And what do we need to do to make it the best?
It's a great question.
Great question. Let's see if I can come up with an intelligent answer.
I love it.
So when I discovered Google and there were other search engines out there, those other search engines, they had no idea how to make money. So they would put banner ads all over themselves. There were pop-up ads that were obscuring the search. The search was always a second thought. There was nobody really trying to improve the search quality or the speed or anything like that. And so for me, the biggest differentiator was like, look, clearly search engines did exist, but Google is something entirely different because they're dedicating their existence to making search better for the people. It was free, without banner ads, without pop-ups, without stuffed porn links. It made my life better within the first hour as I became a user in 1999. Like I was at home, I was searching for like some sort of computer language functions, Perl, I think it was. I was able to find exactly what I needed pretty much right away. It made me a more enhanced human when it came to learning computer science and implementing my thoughts into code. And so that was the differentiator for me. So when it comes to crypto, a lot of crypto, as we discussed earlier, is not following the first principles. So like in other words, it's doing everything but the first principles were meant to indicate for the blockchain. So my hope for Pulse, and knowing Richard for what he stands for and what he believes, is that the Pulse is going to embody more of a purist approach to how things should be when it comes to the operational aspect of blockchains and layer ones and what have you. I mean, like, so think about it. So Cardano, I think Cardano is pretty cool. The problem with Cardano is that they're really focusing on the technical aspect, but nothing on the there's nothing really that's
user friendly.
It's not user friendly. Neither it is playing into the fact that people would like to actually make some money there or be able to invest and get something. They have ideological situation where they're saying we're better than Ethereum because, and then there's a whole list. And they're saying the more people use it, the faster we will be. We'll work better for countries as a blockchain for currency that people could really use. The problem, though, is that I haven't seen anything even remotely similar to Uniswap or anything else that the Ethereum is being embraced for. So,
don't they have Sunday Swap or something like that?
They have
something like that,
but there's hardly anybody using it. I mean, like, think about it. You want to launch a token on Cardano? I mean, forget it. Like, why would you do it? I mean, first of all, it doesn't have that many users. Second of all, it's really not going to have any sort of supporting material to help you. So, I mean, like, even Solana is a little bit better because it's kind of like an underdog of blockchains. And so I think Pulse being this sort of an edge case where, first of all, I think Hex can be very, very successful moving forward still, as well as the people who are standing behind it, and the community is what will make this more of a pure layer one that people should be gravitating to. Ultimately, it comes down to community, I would say. If you have no community that's really standing behind the ideals of the thing, then it's just not going to fly. So
this is one of the big things why I'm like super bullish on PulseChain is the idea that, like, when you walk into like a dojo, like a fight gym or whatever, when you come in there's a certain like etiquette, rule set, values that people kind of operate by. And the same thing goes for developing on a blockchain. You adopt the values of the actual blockchain. So if we launch with this like purist approach to crypto and this first principles ways of thinking, we can assume that a lot of these projects will adopt that value because this is the building that they're building in. And if they're not adopting that value, then we can, boo them away as a community because all of these values are socially enforced. If somebody comes in naked into a meeting, you're like, hey, maybe you shouldn't show up naked, and then he doesn't show up naked anymore. So I like it a lot. Like the purest way. Yeah, I think I think I put out a tweet or whatever saying like, I genuinely think PulseChain will be at the heart of DeFi because it stands for what DeFi is meant to stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, can I ask you too? One thing you said at the end there about the community. Do you think that the community that we've built or that has been built and is growing is sufficient enough for all that to happen? Do you see it going in the right direction right now?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, people are extremely engaging and engaged, and anybody who I talk to in Twitter, they all have 1,000 plus followers. I mean, like literally, I would say Cardano has kind of like they have this cultish personality, and so as many other coins, right? Where Hacks community, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a cool cult, right? Pretty much every company that's out there is a cult. Like people say
Right.
Apple is a cult and Google is a cult and Facebook is definitely a cult. So the thing is that it comes down to game theory, right? Are people there to win together? Or is there somebody out there who is gonna rape you for your economic energy and run away? And so when people truly understand the game theory without thoroughly getting into the math of it, all that means is that the rules are presented and similar for everyone, like specifically immutable contract. Secondly, everyone gets a chance to win in a fair and proper manner without necessarily any sort of pumps, dumps. I mean, those things will happen anyway. But when it comes to community, I think everybody's supporting each other. And the biggest difference that I see with Hex is that it's the community where I don't see a lot of, I mentioned it on the other stream, technocratic nerds. Those are regular people, like regular people out there that are getting into it and trying to understand what the blockchain is all about. What is self-custody and why it matters, right? That in itself, if that was just one thing that Hex did, like really, or any coin would do, really focusing on self-custody, that would be a huge win for the coin generally, right? Nobody is really thinking about it. Everybody's trying to outsmart everybody else when it comes to layer one. They're saying, we're faster, we have this cool language, and we have all those celebrities using us, whatever, right? So those people are competing among themselves within the ecosystem. They're not really helping the regular people.
Right. So what then, to add on to that, what then is like content creators and, people who are on the front lines, spreading information about the community, what can we do better? Or what would you say is the thing that would help us accelerate the growth in the community in the right direction with the messages that we can spread? How can we do things better?
Well, I told Richard he should blow up his Lambo.
Oh yes, you did. He doesn't like that
buy
idea.
a Lambo.
I think he likes riding in it instead.
Right.
That's fine. Well, I told him this. I said, listen,
blow up your Lambo.
Let's do it. You want to make an impression of you owning stuff? You can make even bigger impression if you can give it out or give it away into the world for the sake of being outrageous.
So Mr. Beast does, works for him. All he does is give stuff away, and people are like, "How does he do it? Oh, I better subscribe, or so I can join for the next giveaway." Like that's the whole scheme there. Except he has sponsors to probably ruin your life instead of make your life better. Like it's like he sponsored by like video games on your phone or something. Like why can't we have Richard Hart doing the same stuff, but with I don't want to force the guy to do anything, but he does have loads of money. He wants to spend it more wisely. He's just so in that mindset from growing up, in poverty, basically. It's like, I got to keep it all efficient, but when you have billions, like you gotta, how much is it? Like people have done the math before, like how long it takes to spend $1 billion. It takes like 1,000 years if you're spending like $1 million a day or something. It's like, okay, I think you can spend some,
$1 million a year for 1,000 years.
Once you cross a certain threshold, it is very easy to spend money. I mean, you just point your private jet's captain to a cluster of islands off the coast of Africa, and here's 200 million right there. So,
but as long as you're seeing ROI, I'm not saying just do the biggest thing and most expensive but do the stuff that ROIs and try it. You can start small scale and ramp it up.
So I think Hex community should have their own island.
Mexico, you never been?
I couldn't
Dude
agree with
Island.
you more, Jack.
Yeah.
Island.
I'm in.
If there's chicks, yes.
Well, yeah.
If it's just a bunch of dudes circle
Yeah,
jerks,
okay.
I'm not going on that island,
Sure.
So it needs to
Good
have
point.
its own island with really cool parties, wave runners, and parachutes.
Well, he's building that nightclub. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, but it feels small. I mean, how many nightclubs are out there?
That's a good point. I like the Hex Island, and the only thing you need to do to get on is just show a snapshot of your MetaMask with some staked Hex.
You better have that Richard Hart NFT, or you're not allowed on the
Or the
island.
Richard Hart, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
POST
there
island.
needs to be yearly get together on that islands where people can join the cult, so to speak.
This,
Giant flex off.
Jack, you're trolling us.
Dude, if I was Richard, that's the first thing that I would be doing.
Nice.
Oh no! The first thing you do is blow up his Lambo.
Right.
Take the Lambo to the island and blow it up there.
What would have been a real attention grabber is if Richard would have blown up Bitboy. That would have been awesome.
He was in it. That was pretty cool.
I know.
Yeah.
He should, even better, he should convince him to blow it up so it's voluntary.
Yes.
Right.
Like a charity
better, I like
thing
that.
almost, but sponsored by Hex.
I love how dead set you are on like blowing up a Lambo.
I know.
He wants it to happen.
Well, the story
It needs to
behind
happen.
I killed my Lambo racing it. It like almost died.
Oh
It
man.
was I ran into a bunch of gravel just because so I bought the Lambo, and the first day I took it to the track. I took it to the Laguna Seca.
Nice.
I did 3 track laps, and on the 3rd lap, my brakes just failed. Like the
What?
brake pads turned into plasma.
Oh wow!
So
Good to know.
Yeah.
I was
You didn't get the plasma resistant brake pads?
it rolled
Why
off
you
the dealer.
skipping?
It rolled off the
Carbon
dealer's
ceramic
floor.
plasmic
I decided to check to see what that car can do, and apparently the brakes wasn't its strong suit. Now,
Wow.
mind you, I was going 140 miles per hour, and I was flooring the brakes when they failed.
Right.
So
Wasn't an
what
STO then,
happened
was
is I started to slow down to about 90 miles per hour, and I'm like, oh
That
shit,
probably freaked you out, dude.
the car is not
wouldn't stop.
stopping. There's nothing happening. And I'm like, okay, what should I do? Oh, they teach you how to brake with your front tires. If you twist your steering wheel hard enough, you're gonna end up losing a lot of speed just because of the car. The laws of physics will kill your tires, but you will brake. And so before hitting the wall, that's what I did.
Wow.
So
Damn.
thankfully, I ran into this like gravel area where the gravel loads up into your air intakes and makes the car very heavy. So it's like deploying a parachute, except you're loading up on rock.
Oh my god.
Ah,
I gotta
so
ask,
this
was
is an
this
adventure.
a Huracan or an Aventador?
It was an orange Huracan.
Performante, STO, Evo, what was it?
It was a cheap one.
Okay. Okay.
Because he
It
knew he was going
was-
to crash it that day.
It wasn't the Evo. It wasn't the Performante.
My throwaway race car.
Listen. If it was more expensive than it was like over 300. It was like over 250. But if it was maybe 300,000, maybe the brakes wouldn't have.
The brakes would have been
failed.
So the entry level
Plasma
Lambo
resistant.
isn't the way to go.
No, I was just so excited. I'm like, my first Lambo, I should race it. And so I took it to the race course and like immediately reached the level of its inability to brake. So, but then I upgraded the brakes and the car was great. I mean, the way that
Oh, it
that's
still works? I thought you like actually blew it up.
I repaired it. It was like a lot of money spent on repairing, but then like that it taught me how to like the importance of braking properly and the importance of having proper brakes, proper racing brakes.
Right.
They tell
Yeah,
you
like-
just to like
Importance of a
tap it a few
5-star
times
harness.
instead of hold it down. It doesn't have like built-in ABS brakes. Is that a joke?
No, I mean generally you do not need to tap it. If you want to be the most efficient, you just have to floor it. And you floor it at the very last moment before you hit the wall, essentially, before you're at the terminal velocity. that is how you can turn the most efficiently. You do not ever want to tap it because it actually will produce more heat for the brakes and they will fail faster.
Wow. So I would definitely crash that Lambo.
Yeah. Well, people are used to driving on the street, like driving a regular car. So you have to unthink as a regular street driver. And when you're a racer, you want to be the most efficient, which means maximum speed before the turn, maximum brakes before the turn. And then knowing when the brakes can potentially fail on you, or if you can actually make the turn. That is when you make the best time. So anyhow, yeah, I think
how,
we're learning racing tips from the guy who crashed his Lambo.
You always take those.
I'm taking it with a grain of salt, but do you still go racing?
Yeah. I have a 911S turbo. Love that car.
Nice.
It has the rear wheel steering, which is pretty amazing. So but listen, I win all the races on that car. It's almost not fun because
win all the races. Who are you racing?
Those Porsches are nuts on the track.
They are. So like the Porsche Club, let's just say that if you don't have the most expensive Porsche, then you're not gonna win. And the most expensive Porsche is the one that I have, 911 Turbo S. The thing about it, it drives by itself. Even if you like completely fuck up in terms of turning, it will save you every time.
That's
so.
awesome.
So you're like, wait a second, are you really just doing it for the ego, or you really want to learn how to race properly? And so what I ended up doing, I ended up downgrading. I downgraded to a Camaro, a 600 horsepower muscle car Camaro that has like nothing in terms of technology. It's just a very, very stiff, fast chassis that can kill everybody on the straight. But when it comes to turning, you really need to execute properly. You drive yourself. The car does not drive you. And that is ultimately when I ended up with better skills, is when you can drive something that is more that follows first principles of racing, actually.
Oh, it's always first principles.
They're
it.
always
Beautiful
come
car.
back to first principles.
Wait, what are the first principles for Richard blowing up his Lambo? Where's that tie in?
That would be more of a philosophical thing. You always
that is pretty deep. You know,
it's like this. If you're in the accumulation mode for the rest of your life, you're just not going to be happy.
True.
And so the next level of ownership.
What if you live forever because you invested properly? It's an infinite risk to not invest in longevity because you might actually just not expire, and then you
expire. That's such a funny way to put it.
Well, I have high hopes on reincarnation.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
I want to come out as a better looking dude later.
Okay.
You and me both, brother.
So I'm working hard on not becoming a hamster.
Okay.
You get to
Yeah, true. That's like on my daily habits. Daily habits.
You won't be a hamster
I
if
blow
you-
up a Lambo.
If you live
But anyway, I mean, like ultimately, when it comes to philosophy and ideology, if you just accumulate stuff, you're gonna lose the touch with what the people are all about. And again, this is all about community, right? The community connection to each other is invaluable. It doesn't matter how many Lambos you have, or if everybody's in the community has a Lambo. It doesn't work like that. It's everybody wins in their own individual way. And if there's a common ground to win, which is basically the game theory behind it, then that's where the power is truly really is. It's not about ownership or how much stuff you have, nothing like that. It's all about rallying the people and giving them an ability to advance and improve their life together and as a team. So
that's pretty much Richard's calling. I mean, that's what he talks about, is empowering the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I want to ask one more question before we run here, because this has popped up in the chat a lot. It's been the theme of the questions in the chat, and that is, what is everybody's thought? And Jake, I know you even did a video on this, but what is everybody's thought about the new ETH proof of work merge that has forked off? You know, some people have been saying they've got like 60 developers. That's why it was able to come out so soon. Is that a threat to PulseChain? Let's go around the horn on this. I know nothing about it. Jake, you started a video. You did a video with it. Let's jump in and answer the question that we've heard the most today. What about this new fork, and is it something we need to be worried about?
Nah, because when you look at that donation wallet, I think they have like $3,500 last time I checked. So there's no economic mass there. People don't care. It's a cash grab. Don't worry about the 60 developer thing. Anybody that knows anything about developer knows, hey, how big is the team, the slower it moves. Like there's a lot of small teams with like 5 to 7 people that beat large teams when it comes to speed. So don't worry about that. I think Richard Hart calls it social consensus. Like a blockchain will only be valuable if it has a big enough community to agree on its value. I'm not worried about it at all. Like zero. That's my take on it.
I like it. Take okay.
I mean, I think of it as just like you may get some free coins, and I see guides online where like, oh, get maximum ETH exposure, so you get this free airdrop. People telling people to get loans. I wouldn't recommend that. Like, don't get collateralized extra ETH, extra risk. It's who knows how much the airdrop's going to be worth. Like, what's the best you're going to get at 2x? You know, it's not that crazy. I think it's just I'm focused on PulseChain mostly. So we may get extra copies. I just don't know how it's going to work out for the proof of work chain, I guess. Most people are going to proof of stake, and a lot of things aren't going to be supported on the proof of work chain. They're coming out publicly. Like, I think Chainlink won't support the old chain, so most of that stuff's not going to work. So yeah, I think the main chain is going to be proof of stake, and that's the social consensus, it seems like. So that's where the value is going to be. Most people there.
And what about yourself, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I am really more curious and excited about their sharding and ZK rollups possibility, which are not at all coming out anytime soon, because that's what ultimately is supposed to make Ethereum much faster. The only thing that the merge will potentially do is that it will remove the inflationary pressures on ETH, because I think the inflation will drop to like 0.22% from like 6% or something like that. It may be a little bit faster, but in terms of saving on gas, not really going to make a big difference. And obviously, like right now, people calling it the merge. The reality is that it's two chains working together, mirroring each other, they're trying to validate everything out there. So yeah, I mean, it sounds cool, but I don't think it's gonna have any practical applications in more of a fragmentation when it comes to its final launch. Like even if it does anything this year, then the next year is really going to be all the bug fixes that they're doing, and I don't think they're in a hurry to do it quicker or sooner. But ultimately, it comes down to this: if Ethereum pumps and there is a flippening between the BTC and Ethereum, and by the way, I think the flippening has been done. If you look at the total number of projects on Ethereum and their total value all combined together, that's it. I mean, it's bigger than Bitcoin.
One way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
So
the total value of the chain, not just the chain itself. I see what you're saying.
Exactly. So right there, I mean, like it's more of a mental thing where Ethereum may rally and become better, or more on the market cap than a Bitcoin. But the reality is that if Ethereum pumps, then it's great for Hex. It's great for everybody. It's just great for the liquidity in general. I just hope that it would be more on-chain than off-chain. So that's what I'm thinking.
Cryptographics, anything, your thoughts on that?
I mean, the only thing I can...
Oh, he's there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my camera just died, so I had to go old school here. But I mean, the only thing that I can... Yeah, exactly. The only thing I can really say, because I haven't really looked too much into it, and I probably know the least about it of the panel, really. But what I have been seeing is, for the few people I do rely on for some deeper dive information and analytics, what they're saying is, it may be a chain that it really comes down to the miners. It seems the miners are going to try and get some money while they can and extract as much value while proof of work on Ethereum can still exist in some form. And I can't confirm whether what they're saying is obviously true, but that's what I'm seeing a lot of. And so even the ETH POW is rumored to be, a lot of people are going to try and take advantage of that and just dump it as quick as they can to extract as much value out of it as quickly as possible. So I think it's just a value extraction ploy in my eyes, and I could be completely wrong. That's kind of what I'm seeing from my vantage point.
Also, when it comes to one last point, this kind of happened already with the DAO hack. You have ETH Classic, and that's like whatever 3 to 4% of its market cap. So I think it's just going to be like one of these other ETH Classics, but it's going to have a percentage of the ETH market cap. If ETH bumps, ETH proof of work will probably bump with it. Yeah, it's just one of these like derivatives. That's kind of what I see happen.
Yeah,
because this is not the first time.
If
Right.
proof of stake fails, then proof of work gains value, but it hasn't been failing. So why do we need proof of work? Bad externality, goodbye miners dumping. You know, it's just kind of a better system until we find out proof of stake isn't working for whatever reason. If that happens, then it's back to proof of work, you know. So
yeah, and now, even at the Ethereum merge party that I was at, that was really underwhelming. Which was great to see.
I actually watched that one.
Yeah, it was. I only posted a little bit because it was hard to get things that were great for the video. But basically, one thing I learned was that, you know, the way proof of stake has been integrated into Ethereum for the merge and for all the future updates is even if there was like an attack, a 51% attack, or some kind of malicious move on the network, the network actually itself is like self-healing in a way. So for proof of stake to become obsolete, and obviously this is outside of the realms of what I can back up with my own words, but what was iterated by Tim Biko was that, yeah, it's self-healing, and the chain itself is going to be very hard to undermine over the long term and have anything really bad go just from proof of stake itself. So that was a really interesting thing to hear from that party. And obviously he went off the deep end to back it up, but I mean, that's basically as much as I can reiterate.
Is this proof of work hard fork that's happening? Is that gonna take away PulseChain's title of world's largest airdrop?
So I haven't heard them really talk about like liquidity. Like Richard knows the game when it comes to like economic value. So the whole like PulseX taking liquidity from everywhere, putting it inside of PulseX, and just, I don't know, I haven't heard them talk a lot about liquidity. So I think the way we kind of have to approach it at that point is either act like it didn't happen, which is probably what I'm going to do. And then also like world's largest economic airdrop of economic value. Because you can have a bunch of useless coins. But what if you have coins that have values, but a lot cooler than like useless stuff? Or like worthless stuff is a better word.
That's a real good point. Any other points on that from anybody else?
It did seem odd to me, like as I was reading this, as it was coming out, it was like, are these people, either Richard's known this was coming for a while, so he decided to build it before this opportunity went away, and these people are just like copying it, kind of. They're like, hey, we could try and do system state fork or whatever. I guess they're just staying the same, and then the proof of stake's going off. So I don't know. I guess technically everybody gets coins. I don't know. If we come out first, I guess we're the first world's largest airdrop.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Jack, you said in one of your tech or extremes recently, though, that you didn't think PulseChain was going to be coming out until 2023. Now, that stream was 2.5 months ago. Have you looked at whatever, is it GitHub or GitLab? I'm not sure what the website is. Do you have any updated thoughts on that? Or are you still thinking it's a ways away?
So it's impossible to look at the code and actually say, is it practically viable in any way? So I think the biggest challenge that the team has, and that's my like limited view into the whole project, is that there's certain security and denial of service attack vectors that they need to solve, which actually has nothing to do with the code. It has everything to do with the organizational IT/data center level validators, hardening, and so on and so forth. So you could be an expert in Solidity or an amazing C coder, but you will know nothing about how to keep the system stable. And so that is ultimately, I think, where the project is, and it just needs to mature in terms of that it can withstand denial of service potentially, because when it comes to the economic value locked in the chain, right, you cannot allow that to be unstable or be vulnerable to the outside attacks. And then we're not even talking about any sort of financial hacks out there. We're simply talking about the security of the complex informational systems.
Gotcha. So that's just a matter of time before all that stuff is figured out. Nothing to be rushed.
I would say because we're in the bear market, and bear markets or crypto winters, they're best to build amazing products. There really should be no pressure because, like, think about it. So the market is up this week and it's been up for like the last, whatever, 3 weeks. If you happen to come out right now and then the market dumps another 30%, like, you may be the most amazing thing on the block, but the macro economy will simply push you into the dirt. So you want to time it so that it's at the most painful moment within like the economic pressures. Then it can only go up.
Yep. All the sellers are gone.
All the sellers
That's
are
what we
gone.
want.
Agreed.
Well, all the idiots are gone, and people who are really, really into it for the long term. I mean, that's the people you want to hold on to.
That's Jake's famous last words. There's a lot of idiots out there.
Is that its line?
Yeah.
Is that my line? I just call
No.
people dumbasses. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah, that's right. You like to do that. All right. Well,
Yeah.
you bring up something that's really interesting. I'm gonna end the stream on this question. In a couple of your streams I was listening to, Jack, you were talking about you also think that the bottom is not in. I think you have limit orders at BTC 10K, something like this. So we'll go round robin. Is Richard going to get it right with 11K and pray on BTC, or is the bottom in? What do you think, K4K?
I'm still waiting. Like Richard still is with it with his most recent stream. He's waiting, still waiting. Because like long term, you can still dollar cost average in if you really do think this is the bottom, but we still haven't seen this huge dumping of this Bitcoin. I'm waiting to see that. And that Grayscale Bitcoin discount is still 33%. So why would people buy Bitcoin when they can get it for 33% off? So I think we're just waiting for all that to conclude and all these leveraged up trader corporations that people put faith in get washed out. And I think it's actually great for Richard's image because he has like all this proof built up over years now. And I think people are finally coming around, like BitBoy's like friends with him. Like that was not the case before. It was kind of standoffish. Oh, don't talk about your coin on the channel. And now he's just shilling it on BitBoy's stream. So he's doing it on Jordan Belfort. And now he has all the contacts. So I still think there's a lot of upside for like the Hexakin kind of community with regards to how well Richard's being seen. But for the bear market, I think we still see even lower than 17K for Bitcoin. Yeah.
What do you think, Cryptographics?
I can't imagine this is the bottom. I mean, there's just too many factors still up in the air. I mean, I'd like to be hopeful and think that maybe the impact on Hex won't be as bad. And maybe, you know, we're going to take a smaller hit, but it just seems improbable this is the bottom to me. I can't imagine. I mean, obviously, I hope it is because that would be great. If we just go up from here, perfect, you know, awesome. But it just honestly doesn't make sense to me.
Gotcha. Jack?
Well, I look at it from a perspective of the general bear markets and how long they run. We've been in the bear market technically for 8 months now. S&P 500 has been dropping. Federal Reserve still tightening the money supply. People were thinking maybe next year they're going to pivot. Until the Fed indicates any sort of pivot when it comes to interest rates, we're going to be trending either down or within range. So the volatility will increase. And the things are kind of not really getting better. I mean, yes, Biden did say that there has been a 0% inflation month to month. But that's like saying things continue to suck just the same way.
Yeah.
So until that changes and things are not improving economically, there will be a lot of pressure on crypto and on other markets in general. There is, however, a lot of liquidity still in the markets, both for the upside and downside. But I don't see the narrative is pointing down, though. Like we had a rally this week and last week. So, but I think it's just part of the upward volatility. It's going to be quite possibly an elevator drop. Like within 10 days, we can go back to the lowest levels. So Bitcoin can fall under 20, can continue to fall as liquidations pile up.
Yeah, I agree. The thing I'm paying attention to the most is time. I just don't think enough time has passed in the bear market to validate that the bottom is in. And what I see, all the people that, last summer were saying 100K Bitcoin by the end of the year, they're already back at it saying, oh, this is it. The bottom's in. Next step is, 35, 42, yada, et cetera. And there's just too much hopium that I don't think people have been crushed enough. So maximum pain isn't there. And the GBTC discount, it's there, and it isn't even like trending back up. So I don't see how the spot price can continue to climb if people are buying it at 35% off. So
yeah, but GBTC is not really a good indication of anything because it sometimes even trades completely different to Bitcoin. So I don't think when you buy GBTC shares, you're actually buying Bitcoin at all.
True.
So I mean, it's loosely connected to it, but it has its own rules. So I wouldn't even put it in the same room together. Like saying that it's 30% off, that just basically means like if you suck in your trust, then it will be 30% off, right? Like it. To me, what that means is that there's more liquidations of GBTC than there is in Bitcoin. Like people prefer Bitcoin, spot Bitcoin, versus an instrument that's controlled by a centralized entity. So that's why there's a difference.
That's a really good point. That's something I hadn't thought about either. But the good news is the momentum. I think K4K, you mentioned it. It has changed a lot with Richard Hart. What are all the things that, he had the interview on Fox News. He's on BitBoy. He's on Jordan Belfort. He's doing dollar cost average crypto on Monday. I mean, more and more people are interested in talking to him. And the tone of those interviews has changed a lot, from accusatory to tell us more, help me learn. Why is PulseChain going to be great? And people are listening to him. So from just a positive kind of vibe in the community.
I think it took all these centralized, like actually centralized or admin key things. It took all of those collapsing and people realizing, wow, is there something better than these options? Because we thought these were safe and we got wrecked. Like those were the safe things in crypto. Celsius was like, yeah, if you want to be safe, go to Celsius, get 8%. But if you want to be crazy, you can get 100% APY on this thing and do all that. And so Celsius seemed safe, but it wasn't the whole time. It was high risk because people weren't, like Jack says all the time, first principles. They weren't taking custody of their coins. They're giving it away. They're leveraging it. People are going for that dopamine hit of trading when all you got to do is find the right thing and wait and do other stuff with your life. Just hold wealth, like some of your wealth in crypto, in the right stuff, and watch it grow. That's the way to win.
That's right. Awesome. We're going to end on that note. Thank you for everybody that was in chat for engaging with us. Jack, thank you for your time. I can't believe this lasted 2.5 hours.
I didn't get my prediction.
Yeah, I totally forgot about you too. I was like, wait, are you just totally snuffing him? Correct.
No, okay. That was a head fake on quitting. So Jake Sharp, what are your thoughts on the bottom, dude?
Yeah, what everybody else said was good. I think when it comes to like the bear market, general crypto, but Bitcoin is probably going to go lower. Hex, on the other hand, I don't know, because we had a 95% correction down to like 2.8 cents. That 95% correction is roughly 2.6 cents. Historically, 95% corrections have been hard bottoms. So I could see a scenario where Hex, like if Hex keeps going up a little bit or keeps kind of ranging at the 6 cents and Bitcoin goes down like 50%, well, then Hex just double bottoms. It doesn't have to put in a new bottom. That's kind of a scenario I see as relatively high probability-ish. I mean, as much as we can guess, Then timing analysis-wise, like the first stop was like a year and a half ago. The second stop was like 8 to 9 months or something like that. Bear markets usually end after 354 days on average historically. So I'm actually genuinely excited. I mean, after like the Mt. Gox coin, Bitfinex coins, and the Ross Ulberg, the thing that Richard brings up, like the Silk Road coins, once those pass, I mean, it's pretty much clear skies because markets kind of front run. So we don't have to wait until the last rate hike for markets to start going up. We just have to be close to the end and then market just front runs. And yeah, I think it's going to get very exciting. in like the next year, you know, and this time period. I'm excited.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I remembered to ask your opinion. Sorry about that.
It's best for last. That's what you say. Save
That's
best
awesome. Well, that's a better way to finish it because I like the enthusiasm. I love it. So, all right, guys. Again, thank you for joining me. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed chatting with y'all. Jack, thank you for joining the crew here today. And well, that'll be it. We're going to wrap up with that. Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend.
Peace, everybody.
You too.
Awesome.
Enjoy.
Thank you guys.